many people in the country covered by NHIF, not because of the commercial value for NHIF as a fund, but for the desire that everybody in the country has access to quality healthcare. So what does it look like now in terms of percentages where Kenyans are concerned?
Right. Thank you, Nduh. That's a great question. And we have been growing in numbers. In fact, right now we are smack in the middle of our strategic plan 2018-2022. And it was to grow numbers from 7 million to 19 million. As of end of the last fiscal year, 2019-2020, we had about 9.5 million principal members, which accounted for about 23 million individual Kenyans. That is about 43% of the population. But in that mix, almost slightly over half are voluntary contributors, and about 47% are the formal or formal sector. So now the other question, which I'll volunteer, is that most of the voluntary contributors are not active throughout. And that's why now the active numbers day by day keep fluctuating. But in total, we have about close to 23 million Kenyans in our database currently. Yes.
And in terms of who is active?
In terms of who is active, it's actually about half at any particular point in time. And this is where we have our biggest threat, actually, because we find that the group of voluntary contributors contribute when they have a need. So you find that, I need this surgery. I'm not been active for 2 years. So you start paying for a couple of months, then you go for the surgery.
Right.
And and this is a severe adverse selection. And I call it literally buying money. So it is one of the areas looking at addressing to ensure that the members who are covered continue paying. Because you can imagine if you pay 6,000 shillings and then you get coverage or surgery for, let's say, 180,000 shillings, it will take you about 30 years to even recoup that money. So that is where our challenge is.
Yes. Okay. Yesterday, and I think it's very interesting that we're having this conversation today.
Yeah.
Yesterday, the Narok senator said that NHIF should be made mandatory for everybody in the country now. Getting a little more details from him would be interesting. And he's actually saying that the Health Act then should be amended to make it mandatory for every Kenyan to contribute towards the fund, then, of course, in exchange to receive medical care. Do you think that's the way to go?
I actually concur because, you see, as NHIF, we are a national health insurer. And our mandate is to ensure that we provide the service to contributors. Now, if you look at the way it is right now, we have put on board over 90%, 98% actually of government facilities and a significant proportion of the private facilities. And we are still continuing to enroll more. Now, for members who pay only when they have a need, they create a situation that this scheme is not sustainable. For it to work, we need all members who are able to contribute to it so that at point of need, they'll be able to access the services. It may not be the bells and whistles that you might want, but if anybody needs anything extra, they can top up with private insurance. But the basic to be able to achieve UHC and being one of the big four agenda, we need to obligate this. And I'll give you an example. If we pick even in the informal sector, let's say even the border folk, and now we're literally in a border economy. And there are many accidents that happen. So who foots this bill? Because we don't turn away patients in hospital. Who foots this bill? Yet I bet you they can afford 17 shillings a day to contribute towards NHIF. Would then in return they would have access to comprehensive care. So if we tie this and make it obligated for every Kenyan to pay, then we would be able to achieve it and to achieve UHC literally overnight. However, there is an issue, because then there would be certain folk who cannot afford at all. And these are the people that we would call the indigents. Then the key for us would be to identify who these indigents are and then get support for them, either through government and through other means. Then in that way, we will be able to have achieved UHC, and they will also have to be able to have access to the quality affordable care. And indeed, there has been certain schemes that are supporting the indigents that we have been running for the last couple of years. And here we're talking about the health insurance subsidy program for orphaned children and the vulnerable, for the severely disabled, and also Linda Mama. So already we have been having a form of universal health coverage. Right now, what we need to do is to scale it up and to ensure that it remains sustainable by making sure we leave no one behind.
I think that's where the challenge would be, and we'll talk about this after this break. Speaking with Dr. Peter Kamunyo, the CEO of NHIF, about UHC, the government program Universal Health Coverage, and NHIF is a key cog in this big wheel. So we want to understand, why is it then that we're talking about, people not being able to pay, or people only paying when they need arises? Is it because of attitude? Is it because of understanding of insurance or lack of awareness of what insurance is? Or is it just because, is the law going to solve that? So there's a law, and it says that I must contribute. You think that's going to make me contribute? And then how do you ensure that I contribute? 24 minutes after 7. Let's take a break on Spice FM, on KTN Home and Online. We'll be back shortly speaking with the NHIF CEO, Dr. Peter Kamunyo. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. The weather with Spice FM.
All right, we're looking at mostly cloudy conditions in some parts of Nairobi, but the sun is peeking through those clouds at 15. We'll see highs of 28 and lows of 14. 26 will be the high in Njeri today. Partly cloudy conditions at 16. It'll be highs of 25 in Nakuru, lows of 12. Thunderstorms expected later in the afternoon. And rainy conditions in Eldoret, highs of 23 and lows of 12. Kisumu will be rainy this afternoon, it's partly cloudy at the moment, highs of 29 and lows of 19. Kakamega is partly cloudy at 17 degrees, highs of 27 and lows of 16, with rain expected later. Cloud cover in Mombasa, 26 degrees, highs of 29 and lows of 24. Malindi, this morning we will see 26 degrees at the moment, highs of 29 with cloudy conditions in the afternoon. It's mostly cloudy in Kampala at 19, highs of 27 and lows of 18 with a chance of showers later. Dar es Salaam is mostly sunny at 24, highs of 32 and lows of 22. And Johannesburg is also mostly sunny at 11 with highs of 22 and lows of 11. The rain continues to come down in Lagos in sheets, 30 degrees at the moment. That'll be the high for today, coming down to lows of 23.
Traffic.
Yikes, guys. Mombasa Road is still terrible, and they're still trying to get that trailer off the road. And as if that weren't bad enough, moving then towards the Wave Bridge, you've had two vehicles that decided to greet each other in an unfashionable manner today. So that means that the traffic situation is now compounded on Mombasa Road. It's not looking good. I am sorry if you've been sitting there for the last hour or two, and it doesn't look any better ahead. We know that it will come much easier as you get out towards General Motors, but then it'll clog up again right around Capital Centre, because as you join from the drive-in at Bellevue, again, it's a mess. So Mombasa Road is the one that's giving up those terrible vibes this morning. Also coming off of Thika Road today, it's jam-packed at Ngara as you try to get into the CBD and try to join at the Globe Cinema overpass. So we're seeing some drama, guys. Epic traffic this morning. Spice of MKE, that's how you can reach us on Twitter. You're stuck somewhere, let us know. Or even better, if you found an alternate route that people can use, let us know. Spice of MKE and 40127, that's the text line.
87.9 Spice FM, Mombasa. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Coming up
Nairobi.
to 7:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room, broadcasting on Spice FM, on KTN Home Online. In the room this and every weekday morning is Eric Latiff, Nduh Okoh, CT Muga. Joining us on the line is Dr. Peter Kamunyo, the CEO of the NHIF. We are talking about UHC. And as we were going to the break, Dr. Kamunyo, you were explaining how you have a number of people who are voluntary contributors, and then there are those that, as you called it, buy money. When you are in need, that's when you come in to contribute. But when you're required to be contributing, like, monthly contributions or even daily contributions, you're not contributing. Now, there's a proposal by some legislators to put this mandatory through law, that everybody then becomes a mandatory contributor to the NHIF. The question then is, how do you force me to contribute? And then also, going with that question, have you tried to understand why people do not contribute? When they've registered, they know that they're supposed to be contributing, they don't contribute.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. I think the first thing is, in fact, why do people not contribute? It's a myriad of reasons. I would put it, number one is fairly also cultural, and people understanding the concept of insurance. I think we've also not done a very good job in terms of educating people about insurance and pulling for risk. So very many people feel, why should I be paying now for something that might happen or not in future? So the best example to show how obligation really helps and protects is like in motor vehicle. Nowadays, nobody thinks twice about insuring their motor vehicle. Why? Because it's obligated. But you think about it, that you would run and ensure that your car, metal and moving parts, is insured, yet your body is not insured. Mm. So it is something that we need to address and have a mind shift change in terms of looking at insurance as protection. Is not wasting money. In fact, there are many times, and even in my history in the insurance industry, people used to say, so I've paid this premium, my benefit is $500,000. At the end of the year, where's my $500,000? Where has it gone? You see, making people understand that you're paying, and whatever you're paying is so little, but it's going into a pot whereby a few of the ones who will get any of the occurrence will benefit from it. But that also includes you, should you get that occurrence. So we really need to do a lot in terms of education. But also sometimes when you obligate, then people are also forced to understand. And that's what you see has worked very well, like with motor vehicle insurance. But we need to, yes.
My challenge with that is the enforcement. You see, motor vehicle insurance asks very many people who drive on the roads and why they have insured. Police. That's it. The rest of the stories are, if an accident happens. But the number one thing is they just don't want the cop coming to their windshield all the time checking insurance. So how would you enforce this if we mandated everybody or obligated everybody to take up NHIF?
Great. Since as Spice FM, you're very fond of quotes, I'll also quote Tom Peters, who says, innovate or die. Right? So we must look at ways of doing that. And there are simple ways, for example, all these people who are trading, there are people who are trading in the counties, running vibandas, running stalls, licensing of border borders. You can tie getting this license to an NHIF, valid NHIF membership. Because if you're getting the license, it means you're trading. Then it means you have some income and you can be able to pay for that. And it is not expensive. It's only 17 shillings a day, literally. So we can be innovative to ensure that happens. And with time, then it will be.
I also do think that the understanding plays a major role here. Understanding why your 17 shillings per day or whatever it is being contributed and what it actually does for you. I think that will also go a long way then in ensuring that people, in as much as they are paying as in an obligatory fashion, however, they understand the importance of why they're doing it. You know, like when I always give the example when we talk about corruption, people say, well, it's just money being stolen from government. But if you could see what that money could do for you if it wasn't being stolen, you would then understand why you must kick corruption out the door. In this case, if you could see what benefit it would be of putting that 17 shillings away in the event that you got sick, then it would now create that picture in your mind. Even people who donate or not donate, people who contribute towards NHIF in a corporate setting who work. Just like Eric says about the people who are driving on the road and they've taken out insurance, it's not necessarily they protect their car so they don't get in trouble with the law. People are contributing right now, not necessarily because they're thinking about getting sick, but because, it's got to show up on the payslip, for example, or that, it's you need to do it while you work. It's something that's taken out.
Deducted by the employer.
Right. So they don't even think about it, right? Until they get sick. And then you see the benefit of it. So I think, is it possible, and it might take going back to the think tank as NHIF and other interested parties, or to say, is it not possible that you can work on the understanding of the benefit as opposed to making it obligatory?
Yes, Nduh, that's a great point. And, I think, and this is where even our conversation a couple of weeks back actually ended, where we're talking about the awareness. It would be interesting to know that, like, even the last fiscal year, 90% of all the contributions was paid out to hospitals for benefits that Kenyans have gotten. And here we're talking many, many tens of billions. So already it shows that there are very many beneficiaries out there. And right now, in terms of the benefits, there are very many Kenyans who are dependent, actually, on NHIF. And here we're talking not about just as basic as primary care. We're even talking about tertiary care. Like one of the key areas that people are benefiting from is dialysis. And you know that one dialysis session is from 6,000 plus, and you need 2 to 3 per week. So even you can imagine somebody who has contributed only 6,000 shillings, and they're able to get 18,000 shillings worth of dialysis every week for the rest of their lives. So it is, and I totally agree with you, Nduh, that we really need to educate the public about the benefits. Most of the people is when you don't have when you're not ill, you don't think about it. But when you get ill, that's when you see people running. You should see the queues here to try and get active membership when somebody is in hospital or they know they're about to get to hospital.
There's a question from Onyango Odayo on Twitter who says, please ask the good doc how the Makueni health scheme works and how NHIF can borrow from it.
Thanks. Great question also. But the model is similar. But in Makueni, it's contributions, and then they do what is called input financing. So in the facilities there, they are equipped, they are stocked with drugs, and then people who are members of that county can go to the hospital and access services for free. And that's how even the UHC pilot was. That's called input financing. For NHIF, it's a little bit different. It is output financing, whereby it's a premium paid for each individual into NHIF. And then what NHIF does is strategic purchasing of the services from healthcare providers. So the healthcare providers, they ensure that they have the services available, these quality services, which we also monitor. And then all valid members can go to these institutions and be able to access services. So another key difference is that with that model, we are able to also create a referral process whereby if services are not available in a certain area, you can be able to be referred to secondary and tertiary care and even out of the country. In the model, like in Makueni, it's mostly domiciled within the boundaries of that county. But it is indeed a great system in the counties. Now, that can be tied to NHIF so that they access those services within there, and then from there, should they require services outside or secondary and tertiary services, they will still be able to access. So that now it is wholesome access to care.
So you're saying it's possible for both input and output financing to operate in the same, using the same two systems for UHC?
Yes, absolutely. And it's already there to some extent because, the level 2 and 3 government facilities are already supported. And we have accredited and Empanel actually contracted the same. And for members who are valid NHIF members, they access services there, they will be reimbursed for the services. And that will be able to create and enable even these facilities to be more sustainable and also be able to have to sustain themselves so that they can grow and be more attractive to more members.
You know, these ideas, Dr. I personally like them, and the idea of UHC to me is very appealing. But there's a fundamental difference, even as we give the example of the vehicle insurance that people have for their vehicles. And the difference is this. You pay insurance money to a reputable company, not the government. UHC money you pay to the government. That is how it is viewed. And therein lies the problem. Because not with NHIF. No. Government. Because the success rate of NHIF from time immemorial has been good. NHIF has actually, even with whatever problems it has had, NHIF has tended to meet their end of the bargain. That they have without fail. In fact, to the point where for the longest time it was taken for granted. But the moment you make it compulsory, what you will do is you will make it look like a tax.
When Muga, that's great observation, but also we note that what we are trying to get to now to have UHC, when it's obligated, we are talking about obligated to join NHIF, to pay NHIF, and this, and it's good that you mentioned that, because indeed with this output financing model, it is transparent and accountable. Because Muga, you've paid your 6,000 shillings, you know you're a valid member for the year 2020, 2021, and you have your suite of services that nobody can take away from you. So, and there's nowhere that you can have, let's say, misappropriation of those funds. But we know that misappropriation can happen at facility level when you have that medical fraud, and that's another topic altogether. Mm-hmm. And I hope we will have that one day. But in terms of how we have envisioned now UHC, and I would like to break it down again, just very simply. Currently, we have what we call our National Health Scheme, which we call the UHC scheme. It has 3 members, key members: the statutory contributors of formal sector, these voluntary contributors, or whom we're calling informal sector, that we want to obligate, and then the group that comes out who cannot afford at all, whom we need to identify and support as government. And with those 3 having their premiums paid, we actually have UHC. So don't worry about the funds, because you'll be able to account for that, because you have the members, you can just multiply by the premium and you know where that money is.
It's interesting because every time we talk about UHC, it's like somebody's waiting for the red carpet to be rolled out, and then they'll say on this date, October 25th, UHC will begin. So maybe you can explain. It's without understanding that it's a process. So, and then everything that is being done at the moment is getting the country to that. So could you give some thought to that in terms of what essentially would happen, and it's not necessarily a day when you walk in and things start.
Yes. Yeah. And like I said, thank you, Nduh. Like I said at the beginning, it has been a journey, and this journey was started when NHIF actually came into being in 1966, because the purpose was to ensure that the workers have access to health. Then they realized, no, it's not just workers. We also need the people in the other sectors. So 1972, voluntary contributors were allowed. Then over time, as the scale grew, is that we don't have enough coverage. There are still people who are left out, people with chronic illnesses. They need outpatient care. So where are they? So 2015, we introduced outpatient cover through the super cover. And then we realized, okay, people are not everybody's contributing. We have a bit of adverse selection. So how do we deal with this? So now the proposals to how do we ensure that people continuously contribute? But then, wait a minute, there are certain group of people then who are left behind, and these are the people who cannot afford, people who are vulnerable. So how do we get them on board? And there has been government-sponsored projects that have been ongoing for the last couple of years. And then now that we are talking about now UHC, we are actually referring to a scale-up, that we literally go out of our way in all the corners of the country, in all counties, to identify the indigents, those who cannot afford at all, and support them. Then we can say that right now we have UHC. And to also answer a question, because to say that you have UHC is when about 80% of the country has access to the care that they need without financial hardship. So we are targeting to get to that number of the population.
Dr. Forgive me for belaboring the point, but can you explain to us how the actual process that you go through in determining these individuals who actually are the neediest in our society? You said you go out, okay. In detail, what do you actually do?
Okay, for NHIF, we do not go out to do that. It is like the list that we get from Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, who have identified, and you also know that there was also the group that had been identified during at the peak of the COVID pandemic and the crisis to also get some support. So already there are mechanisms to identify the indigents, but we as also NHF contributing towards the scale up of UHC is to have this driven also from the county level, and to be able to identify and have a mechanism that is also transparent to be able to identify the indigents. And also don't forget, this has to be a dynamic process, because one might be an indigent or vulnerable or poor today, and then by next year, they've struck gold and they're in a completely different bracket. So that is the mechanism that even at the county government and national government is looking at, and already have identified through the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection quite a number, but to make sure that the process ongoing, and even as Ministry of Health have together with the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection have developed a tool at county level to be able to identify. So what we need to do is to work together to ensure that this process continues, and that we leave no Kenyan who is deserving behind.
Okay. Dr. Now, if just paint the picture, somebody has made the decision and saying, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get this NHIF card coverage. Somebody makes that payment, and what do they get? I mean, now we're trying to break it down for people to understand it. Let's do a little bit and help you out this morning as NHIF in sharing that education. What do they get, and what do they have access to? Making it as simple as possible. Josephine has 2 children, is on her own, and has now decided, okay, I'm going to pay the 500 shillings moving forward. What does it do for me and my children?
Okay. Josephine has made a great decision to join NHIF, has paid her contribution, and she can pay her contribution either through her mobile phone, through USSD *155#, or if she has a smartphone, she can download the app and be able to pay and enroll, or she could visit any of our 156 service outlets across the country, which are our 70 branches, or our desks at the Huduma centers, or the other 56 service centers, and she'll be able to be assisted by our staff to enroll. And once she is a valid member, she would also need to select an outpatient facility of her choice that is convenient to her, that is close to her, that she trusts that will give her the services which we have put on board. And once she selects her facility, outpatient facility, she has access to care. She can go and access care, from primary care to chronic illness care, and a myriad of other packages that we have.
Immediately?
Starting from surgical covers. There is a waiting period for people who are joining new because of the adverse selection. Like I mentioned earlier, it is indeed a huge problem that we have. There is a small waiting period for especially the chronic illnesses, etc. But for accidents and that you can access care immediately because those are not planned for. So what we try to avoid is that adverse selection. So yeah. And then, so she can access the care and all the myriad of the benefit packages that we have, which even include transplants. It includes, oncology care. It includes dialysis. It includes also a mental health package. Yeah. So we have addressed the needs of our people, and. You keep repeating that, and I will make sure that our communication improves on that. I must admit.
I want to belabor this particular point. Now, I have to belabor it because, one, according to the statistics that WHO and other UN bodies put out, is that between the year 2015 and 2025, there'll be 9 million individuals who will enter the job market in Kenya. But I want to take it further back. Many of our young people get into Form 1 at the age of 14 or 15, some even 16.
Yes.
So meaning by the time they're in Form 4, they're already 18. Not everyone goes to university or a tertiary college. Now, where I'm going to is this. This issue of understanding the importance of insurance, why do you wait for it until people are able to actually earn a living? Why don't you ensure that this is something people, and the importance of which is understood at a very early age, so that when someone is able to pay for it or someone can afford it, it's not a teeth pulling exercise that it is. It's something that they can easily and very quickly move into.
Muga, that is a great suggestion, and I think even as we go into now UHC, basically what we're talking about
I'm sending you an
is
invoice.
social health insurance. Yeah. Are you an NHIF member?
Yes.
Okay.
NHIF does not pay invoices for people who are not members.
I'm a member. I am a member.
Yeah, so social health insurance, I agree that it's something that should actually be socialized at an early age for people to understand, because this is a national issue, and being also a big four agenda is something that should be taken up and driven, so that it is not something that we are selling. It's something that people take without enforcement, etc.
And coercion.
Because at the end of the day, it's yes, and thank you for mentioning that, Eric. We are not a commercial entity. Everything that contributions that we get, we plow it back for the benefit of the members. So we don't work for profit.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. I mean, you are a good insurance salesman.
He's a very good policy salesman.
Dr. Peter Kamunyo is the CEO of NHIF. Asante sana for speaking to us and explaining how UHC is geared to work and telling us how far we are down this road. Asante sana, and we wish you all the best as you continue growing.
Thank you very much, Muga, Nduh, and Eric. And I hope we have another conversation on medical fraud soon.
Sure.
We will.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
Asante sana. This is a Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. We're speaking with Dr. Peter Kamunyo, the CEO of NHIF. Just to remind you that we're giving away this book by John C. Maxwell, the world #1 Times best-selling author, Leader Shift. Go to Facebook or Twitter, SpiceFMKE, and give us your most powerful leadership quote. And then CT Muga will be picking one winner every hour and giving out this book to them. Remember, just 19,900 shillings and you get to buy a ticket for tomorrow's event, where John C. Maxwell will be doing a live simulcast around the globe, and Kenya will have a specific Kenyan panel as well. So you join this conversation tomorrow and you'll really benefit from the insights of John C. Maxwell and the other speakers. Good morning. We are live on Spice FM and KTN Home. Time for us to take a break. We'll be back in the next hour. This is Kenya's biggest conversation.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
3.5 minutes to 8. Just from the conversation with Dr. Peter Kamunyo, the CEO of NHIF, and hearing, the plans that are in place for NHIF. If you get to that point where you can go to any government facility, just walk in, just because you're a member of NHIF and contributing, walk in, get treatment, walk out, 100% coverage, that would be a very good point to get.
Absolutely. And as you were speaking, I wish we had time to ask another question, but maybe it's a conversation we can have later, because as you were speaking, I thought about the MES scandal and all of this that's going on, and how a fund like this that has this information then would be able to fuel conversations and information about the footprint of the country in terms of diseases and medical needs and who needs what in certain areas, you know?
Yep.
All the information that you need is actually here. There's no reason for some of the drama that we see. And to even say that in certain regions, this is what we require, based on the treatment that has been happening over the last 1 year, it should fuel decisions that are made then at a legislative level and say, based on what we've been seeing the practice is, this is what we need to purchase for the country.
I'm sure already the Ministry of Health has that. A health information system that is able to gather information from across the country, looking at, of course, what NHIF is supplying to the various hospitals because of demand, what the doctors are recording because of the people they're treating. All this information is there. And now imagine if you actually even added the number of visits per patient, because you have that information from NHIF. This is the person and this is where they went to. Last year they visited a hospital in Tiwi. This year they're visiting a hospital somewhere in Lamu. That means that they have moved, or they have. You can tell quite a bit from the information that you gather here, and it helps you in the future decision making, even in budget allocation or appropriation. Big things. The thing that we keep saying is that all these plans are there and they're really good for the government, if only.
If only.
If only we just, everybody did what they're supposed to do, because that's all that's all that's required. Just do what you're supposed to do. It's there, and don't allow the private sector to come in, especially the private sector that wants to come and play games by stealing from the public. Don't allow those ones. Let those private sector who are willing to come and do clean business come and participate, and let's have clean business. Big things happening around the country on this particular front. And just like you were saying, CT, I mean, education on insurance is something that can start much earlier. Primary school. Focus not just as a topic in business education, but proper understanding of insurance, even practical.
Believe me,
where you're able to even contribute. There's money set aside in that capitation. There's 5 shillings that goes into you contributing to insurance and you seeing what is happening.
You know, there are business studies that children are taught, or some form of it, even in primary school.
Yeah.
There is so much that you could teach that is actually practical and something which they will encounter when they're much older. And that idea will make more sense when they're older if you actually inculcate it at a younger age.
True.
By the time if you pursue it even up to secondary school level, it therefore means that by the time someone gets to university,
they're done. Good morning. It's 8 o'clock. More conversations in the next hour.
Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, there's still traffic on Mombasa Road this morning, and I know this seems like it's one for the books today. There have been a couple of accidents on the road, so that's the reason why. In terms of when you get off Mombasa Road, I'm sorry, I can't tell you that one just yet. We also know that people have tried to get off Mombasa Road, and now this has affected traffic on Outer Ring Road, now trying to get into the CBD. So Outer Ring is jam-packed as a result of Mombasa Road being jam-packed as well, and there's quite the sticky situation there. Coming off of Thika Road, getting into the CBD is not too bad. There is a lot of traffic currently on Kiambu Road, and it's now 6 lanes as opposed to 2. Everybody's complaining about Mombasa Road. Understand, from the main road to the service lanes, everything is moving very, very slowly, compounded by the fact that the construction continues up ahead. So we know that Mombasa Road is terrible today, guys. This one just needs some patience, and hopefully the accident should be cleared up soon enough, but it's going to leave dregs of traffic for some time. There's an accident at the Langata Barracks. This has affected traffic on Mombasa Road leading to the Timor roundabout. So everywhere you look, traffic this morning, guys. We'll keep an update of what it looks like in a short while. You can also let us know what you see or where you might be stuck so we can spread the word. Spice FM KE on Twitter, or text us on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Nduh Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
Kenya's
This is
biggest
the
conversation, broadcasting on Spice FM, Nairobi 94.4, Kisumu 102.5, 87.9 in Mombasa, Nakuru is 96.0, Eldoret 96.7, Njeri 90.9, 97.7 in Malindi, and also www.spicefm.co.ke and Spice FM KE on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. We're live on KTN Home for the next 1 hour as well. As we begin the hour, let's talk about today's proverb.
No one fights a lion without the lion's claws getting to his body.
Okay.
If you live in a part of the world
We're assuming
where they don't have lions,
mano o mano,
where you don't have lions,
hand to close combat.
yes,
Because you can be fighting a lion by shooting it.
but you have snakes. Then
Fight a lion by just from far.
if you want to look at it literally, why on earth do you want to fight a lion?
Yeah, like, how about we have that?
It's not as though you one
Traditional
finds
rite of passage.
Yes, but that one also has been really overtaken with time, by time. You don't find lions walking on Mombasa Road.
Yes, you do.
No, you
Where
don't.
have you been? City.
No,
Seriously.
no, it's
You do find
no, it's
them.
Langata Road.
There was one on Mombasa Road, I'm not even kidding. Right here.
Yep,
Over at...
yep.
Yes, and how often do you see those lions?
Well, I mean, you said you don't, but you actually do. But okay.
No, you don't. What I mean is it is not a normal occurrence
There,
like traffic.
Okay. There. Yeah, okay.
So, statistically, one over a period of 50 years is irrelevant.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
But your point is well made.
Okay. Let's give out this book, John C. Maxwell, Leadership, event happening tomorrow, virtually. All right.
Yes.
Let's look at the. So we're asking for you to give us your most powerful leadership quote and posting these on our social media handles, Spice FM KE on Facebook or on Twitter. CT, how many do you have? Which one do you see that's quite...
No, there's one particular one here that I actually like. It says, a certain gentleman by the name of Mwangi Washira, if the problem you have this year, or the problems you have this year, the same problems you had last year, then you are not a leader. You are rather a problem on your own. And you must be solved.
Huyu mhubiri anazungumzia
Same thing over and over and
What
over.
about
Problem. Okay. You look and realize, actually, this person has a point. We're looking in the wrong direction.
you are the problem.
Yeah.
Why are you both pointing at me?
Okay. Yeah.
But thanks, yeah.
Let me point south.
So Mwangi Washira wins the book.
Mwangi Washira wins the book.
Leadership. Mwangi Washira, congratulations. You get this book, Leadership by John C. Maxwell. Our special social media man, his name is Brian Amlioto, will be in touch with you. So Brian Amlioto will be in touch with you, Mwangi Washira at Gimwachi.
More people have the opportunity to join this event tomorrow. You can call the numbers 0719-012-520 or 0799-748-069. That's 0719-012-520 or 0799-748-069 to purchase your tickets for this live event tomorrow. And you have an opportunity to hear from the man himself on leadership.
Okay. So let's talk about education, shall we? Because today is Thursday and you are required to send your children back to school on Monday if they're in grade 4, standard 8 or form 4. Are you ready? Well, first of all, the court has ordered the education CS to invite all stakeholders for a meeting before schools open. Yesterday, High Court Judge James Makau issued the order following an application by a parent claiming that Professor Magoha has announced reopening of schools on Monday next week without giving proper guidelines on how learners will be protected from coronavirus. So Justice Makau ruled that the Education Cabinet Secretary or his representatives should invite all parties in the education sector within the shortest possible time to reach a settlement on the issue of reopening schools. He directed that a report detailing resolutions made during the meeting be filed in court before the 14th of October. He had previously stopped Magoha and the TSC from directing teachers to start community-based learning following a petition by a parent, Joseph Aura. The CS was in Kisumu yesterday, and he has directed principals not to send learners who have not settled fees arrears home when schools reopen next week. He was at the Kisumu National Polytechnic yesterday, where he asked principals to be considerate towards learners who may lack school fees when they report to school. However, I'm just looking at page 6 and 7 of the Standard. I'm not even turning pages. Fees shocker awaits parents as schools yet to get funding. Parents are not ready to pay school fees when the schools reopen on Monday, saying that they are still smarting from adverse effects of coronavirus that led to the job losses and a huge dip in income. Some parents who spoke yesterday said the communication by the CS, Professor Magoha, to reopen schools was abrupt, catching most of them off guard. There are fears that the cost of maintaining COVID-19 protocols may be passed to parents who say they're only ready to start paying fees in January 2020. But very many private schools are already reporting, we're already hearing reports that private schools have sent communication to parents saying, okay, you guys, Monday. So by Monday, we expect to see fees reflecting in the account before you can bring those guys here. Over and over, this back and forth. Are we ready? Are we not ready? Are schools really prepared? Are schools going to be able to admit pupils without any money in the bank account of the schools? When you're talking about this, so money has not yet been disbursed from the National Treasury to the public schools, so the schools are still not ready. Those are public schools. Private schools are not ready. Parents don't have money. What are we doing?
What are we doing? And now we are seeing the mushrooming of these conversations happening now, 3 days to the time when essentially people should start going back to school or taking their children back to school. We also see on the same 6 and 7 on the Standard is that education stakeholders have called for more time to prepare adequately for schools reopening. This is happening as we speak. Monday is 3 days from now, right? And they're saying, look, we feel that we should have been consulted on this. We should have at least been involved in the conversation, because it's not a matter of being hard-headed. It's a question of what exactly are we supposed to do? Education Cabinet Secretary, again, George Magoha, said on Tuesday when schools were opening. Parents, however, said yesterday that they were not ready to take their children back to school next week, while many teachers in schools are in limbo as the Ministry of Education is yet to disperse funds for preparation. I have 4 children, says one parent, 2 in secondary and 2 in primary. At the moment, I'm out of work after the COVID-19 pandemic led to closure of my workplace. He's a hotel worker. He's asking the question, what am I supposed to do? Mvita Constituency Private Schools Association Secretary Fadusa Watcher said the majority of private schools on leased premises are yet to clear rent for the last 6 months, and it is unlikely that they will be ready for school on Monday. Look at some of the things that we are facing. Huge issues. And then, as if that's not enough, we have a picture of the Lake Baringo Mixed Secondary School Administration block. Guess what? Underwater. So some of the questions are arising. Really, what is going to happen? But we've heard these blanket statements over and over and over again, and it really does bother me that we are ready. Everything is ready. Let's just take this one school, for example, where you can actually see teachers sitting on what used to be maybe a fountain, but it has now been turned into an island, and they're not quite sure how to get to the administration block. Students have not come back to school yet. So when everybody says we are ready to go, it's not the case. There are many conversations that need to be had. The rush, unfortunately, is not making sense. In as much as students need to get back and finish exams or write exams, why it's happening at this point and not taking into consideration the views and expressions of the stakeholders, which are very important, namely parents. What is going to happen? And interestingly enough, teachers are also asking for time to prepare. Teachers who are going to be giving this knowledge and understanding, they are not ready. They're not ready. These views need to be taken into consideration. It's never too late to backtrack. It's too late to get into it and then try to find your way when you essentially could swim or you could sink. Right? Majority of parents traveled up country with their children and are banking on coming back in January 2021. In the North Rift, for example, school heads are worried about poor preparation and lack of funds. Some teachers told The Standard that most schools do not have food and resources to enable them adjust to COVID-19 protocols. The new desks that the government was to provide to some schools are yet to be distributed, with education officials saying the exercise will begin next week as learners report to school. Some schools reportedly disposed of food staples, maize and beans, during the 7-month break, owing to food shortage, and head teachers are at a loss on what students will eat when they report back. Are these not pertinent issues?
Others that parents decided to slaughter the bulls.
Exactly. We read that and we discussed this and said, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to slaughter them and share.
This is another conversation that we had with the Secretary of the Private Schools Association the other day. So the government announced a stimulus package for the education sector. And there have been conversations going on for days on end on how private sector players can access some sort of financing to help them stay afloat. They still haven't been able to access this money that would then allow them to stay afloat. So when you hear what Miss, what's her name? The Mvita Constituency Private Schools Association Secretary Fardosa Wacha saying that a majority of private schools on leased premises are yet to clear rent arrears for the last 6 months. This is something big. So you still have arrears. You are supposed to be preparing to receive learners next week. And that, of course, calls on you to put in place measures. For example, you must have food, you must have water, you must clear the electricity bills and all. If you don't have cash to operate now, you'd obviously push for the parents to pay school fees up front. So there's going to be a clash between schools and parents because schools expect money to be able to operate. Parents don't have money that they can pay to the schools now. What's going to happen? So you push your kids to school and the CSE says, please, please, please don't send the learners home. Let them go. Let them. Wacheni watoto.
But then you have to ask the very important question of then, on the other side, what do you expect these schools to do?
Yeah.
What do you expect them to do? And this is why I was saying these were stakeholders that should have been included in the conversation or in the planning, if there was so, when you made the announcement that schools would open on the 12th of October. Now these conversations are being had after the fact, when it was very easy to pull them in and say, this is what we actually should do, or this is the real situation on the ground. Again, this is what we see. And it's getting ugly. Tomorrow is Friday.
But again, unless we give the details of how we would have wanted these consultations to take place, the Ministry of Education will come and tell you, we have held consultations with stakeholders. The Private Schools Association have been represented. The school heads have been represented. The Association of School Heads, this is the primary school heads and secondary school heads, have been represented in these meetings. The Parents Association has been represented in these meetings.
They didn't give the true picture on the ground.
So
that is the problem.
How else would you have wanted these consultations to take place so that it feels more broad-based and more inclusive?
How has this information come to the fore? How has this information that we are seeing now, all of these things that we are being told, parents coming out and complaining, teachers coming out and complaining, those who've even gone to court and saying you didn't share enough information with us in good time. How has it come about?
Media reports.
Exactly.
So media reports to have consultations?
No, the way you announced.
I think the same media reports
The same way.
are
Okay.
what you find people who manage schools and head teachers
Reading.
learned about these tools that were supposed to be employed in training teachers. And if you're asking for the actual, whether it's virtual or physical manifestation of these things, schools are still waiting. So there's a lot of waiting going on here. And you get the impression that the ministry seems to be under siege.
Okay.
There are very many balls in the air. And a few have already dropped. And there's a likelihood of more dropping. And yet, we are not trying to say, rather, I'm not trying to say that we have a perfect solution for this situation. But the situation we are in certainly requires a better solution than the one which is actually being put forward. Telling people, go back to school. We've got that. If you look at the nation and what they have presented or what has been documented with regards to private schools, that is even more surprising and shocking.
Mm-hmm. What are they saying?
They are saying that, in fact, the headline, if you look at the headline, is Shock Awaits. And you can read it.
Private schools fee shocker for parents. And the subline there is 196 is the number of private, secondary and primary schools that have been shut down as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And some private schools have set punitive conditions for parents, including demanding that fees are paid in full ahead of reopening on Monday. This requirement will hit especially hard thousands of parents who have had to scout for new schools from this 196 that have closed for their children with related additional costs, as nearly 200 academies have been driven out of business by COVID-19. And private schools want parents to first clear the fee arrears for the first term that was cut short with 3 weeks remaining.
If you actually turn the pages, they even give more details as to what they actually expect. There's also a little debate about paying for virtual learning.
Yeah.
And there's already pushback from some parents. They feel the learning was substandard. They feel the learning didn't meet the needs that they expected. Essentially, there's disgruntlement all round and there's uncertainty all round.
Again, I want to ask the question, how else would the Ministry of Education have conducted this stakeholder engagement to make it more broad and to make it more inclusive? How else? If not the associations that represent the various stakeholders. The Kenya National Union of Teachers and KUPPET represented. The Teachers Service Commission, the employer of teachers, represented. The Private Schools Association, who represent the private schools, represented in the meeting. School heads represented. Teachers, Parents Association, the National Parents Association represented. Which stakeholder is missing here?
No, actually, I think that would be a perfect way to spread the information if they were telling the truth.
Who?
I think these associations...
Who was telling the truth?
The Parents
The people at the
Association,
table.
the Private Schools Association,
Okay.
if they were giving a true picture of what it is in terms of those that they represent at the table when they were called in as stakeholders for these meetings or these consultations when they were had, if they were giving a true reflection of the situation on the ground, it would be a perfect way to send this information. But unfortunately, it would appear that everybody goes for these consultations and they are there like nodding heads in a vehicle and saying, yes, everything is fine. We are ready. Parents are ready. Teachers are ready. School heads are ready.
Why
But
would
that's
the
not
school
truth.
heads? Why would the school heads go to this meeting and say that they are ready, and then their members come and say that they are not ready?
That's the question.
Why would the Private Schools Association go to a meeting to say that they are ready, yet they know that their members have told them that
We
they are
had
not
the
ready?
Private Schools Association head here with us last week. What did he say? What did he
They'll
say?
be ready.
They said they would be ready, isn't it? And everything is hunky-dory and they're fine, ready to go, right? Same private schools are telling us now. Isn't now they're telling us a totally different story. Why would you do that? Why would you come out and give information that you know is not the case? Why would you do that? And that's the question. So that you can lick the boots of those who are in a position of authority for some reason? It doesn't make sense to me, actually. I'm baffled. I don't understand why you would give a picture of something that is not the case. Why would you say that private schools are ready when they are not ready? Why would you say that parents are ready when they are not ready? Why would you do that? And that's the question I think that we need to ask ourselves. Because you can't have it recursive.
Are the views that
in
we are
the
seeing
manner-
here representative of the wider sector?
Have you
Or
seen?
are these just samples that are then in the minority?
Have you
Because
seen
that's what I
large?
would ask.
Have you seen
If we
large
see
Congress
two or
views?
three private school heads that have been covered in the press saying that they are not ready, does that represent the entire fraternity of private school?
If you had 2 or 3 private schools who came out and said, actually, you know what, we are actually ready, countering what these 2 or 3 and said, okay, maybe there's a balanced view and maybe you can go ahead. But it seems that the overwhelming answers that we have from many people is that they're not ready. Until you have the CS even saying, okay, we've heard that principals might chase children away. We've heard that parents are not ready. And then we are asking principals to please take it easy. Why would you do that if you've not received overwhelming reports that indeed parents are worried that their children children will be sent home until he has to appeal to them. It's clear. It's clear.
Eric, if you consider the information we have been receiving for some time now about private schools closing, and if we've also believed the information we've received that parents have already started looking for schools for their children, then what it immediately tells you is that public schools will be overwhelmed. Best case scenario, there'll be more students than they had before. If you are to work with the numbers that they actually had, and we are looking at the safety measures that you must take into account, that already creates some difficulty. Just dealing with the numbers they had before this inclusion or this addition that is clearly going to happen. Now, your question is a valid one in that what else could the government have done? Well, actually, if one asks that question, the answer is not that difficult. Many of the things that are required in schools are possible when the schools have money. Just the sort of money that the government sends to the government schools. Private schools is a different discussion, because it's a business, what they plan to do, how they go about it, it's a different discussion. But I'm focusing on public schools because that's where the majority of the students in this country go to. And it isn't for lack of a willingness on those who manage the schools to be prepared. It is just that the preparedness will actually not meet the muster. It will not meet the required standards. They may try as much as they like. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a head teacher in Mfangano, Homa Bay County. And he told me something he told me, I asked him this question very directly. I told him, Mwalimu, tell me, you teach in a primary school. He told me, my friend, forget this story of desks and what have you. He said, the problem I am facing and many of the people who work on this island are facing is whether we are going to have sufficient ammunition to provide psychosocial support. And ask, what do you mean? He said, with all this time, many students have actually forgotten about the classroom completely. He said, I have students who went back to fishing. They become fishermen. I have girls who have gotten married.
What?
Yes. He said, I have young men who have gotten married. Meaning the whole social structure has changed. Now tell me, you want these people to go back to school with what frame of mind? Because there are very many schools that didn't have access to online learning or radio learning or any form of learning, and the students were not in class.
Valid points. What I'd like you to tell me is whether you asked him and whether he responded to this. What would he have wanted to see done before the schools reopening was announced? Let's go into the break and then you tell us what he said about that. Daniel Osiemondere says, let me tell you this. If the ministry chose to await parents to be ready, that would be tantamount to having closed schools for good. This is Kenya. We are complaining is a hobby. That's the opinion of Daniel Ondiere on Twitter. This is a Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's take a break. We'd like to hear your opinion. 0719 012 600 and 40127 on SMS.
Spice FM. Njeri. This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Sunny conditions in Nairobi at 18 degrees. We'll see highs of 28 today and lows of 14. Nyeri is mostly sunny at 18 as well. Highs of 26 and lows of 14. Partly cloudy conditions in Nakuru at 17. Highs of 25 and lows of 12 with a chance of showers later on. It's mostly sunny in Eldoret at 16 degrees. It'll change later though, with rains in the forecast. Highs of 23 and lows of 12. It's partly cloudy in Kisumu at 22. Highs of 29 and lows of 19 with showers expected later. Kakamega is partly cloudy at 18 degrees. Highs of 27 and lows of 16 with a chance of showers later on. Mombasa is partly cloudy at 26 and it'll go to highs of 30 today and lows of 24. Malindi, the light rain showers have begun at 26 degrees. It'll go to a high of 29 today and lows of 25. It's mostly cloudy in Kampala at 21. Highs of 27 and lows of 18 with showers expected later. Dar es Salaam is mostly sunny and those sunny conditions will last the whole day with highs of 32 and lows of 22. Joburg is partly cloudy at 11 degrees with highs of 22 and lows of 10. And finally for now, it continues to rain in Lagos. 30 will be the high and the rains continue most of the day with lows of 23.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Traffic.
If you're headed towards town from Thika Road, don't use the service lane. Traffic on the service lane starts at Utali and it's not moving. The highway, however, is moving. It's slow, but it's moving all the way into the CBD today. So the service lanes are chalked up right there. On Mombasa Road, unfortunately, service lane, highway, behind the lane, it's not moving, guys. It's a bumper-to-bumper situation and very, very slow today. It's going to take you a long time to get off of it. And this is because of the earlier accidents that we saw. All right. Outer Ring Road. Unfortunately, we've had an accident today because somebody was not using the footbridge and that life has come to an end. So they're waiting to have that moved. So this is also adding to the traffic. So it was a traffic full day today in Nairobi. Spice FMKE, that's how you can reach us on Twitter. Text us as well on 40127 in case you get stuck somewhere, if something that we should know about as well.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
29
94.4.
29 after 8. I'm just waiting for 3 seconds, 2 seconds. 8:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation on Spice FM. CT Muga, Eric Latiff, Nduh Okoh. So CT, what did your friend tell you? So yes, there was psychosocial support that would really be required once these learners resume schooling. But then, what is it that he'd have wanted to see done before the announcement that schools are going to reopen?
The main problem here was the timing. What he told me was that many people had actually prepared for January. They had actually made plans, whether it is borrowing from the SACCO, whatever it is that people do to pay, they had timed it and planned for January. Said, now this, he said, they had fees arrears to begin with, yes, but now this puts them in a completely different sphere. And his real issue is he didn't know what to do. Said, with this sort of situation, I really do not know what to do. Because he himself is a parent, and then he's going to have parents to deal with also. He said, it's a very, very tricky situation.
I hear all that, but how does that address, for example, the person who's become a fisherman? Or the girl who got married.
That's where the psychosocial support comes in.
So should it have happened before we announced schools reopening?
No.
Or are we saying that now when they reopen?
That has been done. The problem was whether you open schools now or you open it in January, that problem was still going to be there. Students who had moved their minds from a classroom setting into other businesses, getting their minds back so that they can actually be prepared, say, for an exam. Because it's the older children who are possible candidates who would have pursued these avenues.
Yeah.
Yes, they're not just going to sit at home and do nothing.
So the reintegration.
Yes.
So let's ask this question again, and I want just to keep harping on it, because now the court has ordered Professor Magoha to invite all education stakeholders for a meeting. The conversation that we've had in the last 3 days, we're hearing not adequate or sufficient consultation was done, reaching out to all the stakeholders. How else should the government have conducted this stakeholder consultation before announcing the reopening of schools? How else should it have been done? Is it county barazas? Is it nyumba kumis? Is it what else is it that the government should have done?
If
the
government talks about the possibility of opening the school, the information that people take in is that they have told you when they're going to open. It's not a suggestion. All right. So when you're then told, okay, no suggestion, no hints, we're actually telling you we are opening on this particular day in October 2020.
Yep.
You see? Everything you're hearing has to do with just one thing. Parents are not ready. They're not ready now. They're not ready at the end of this month. And even come January, many will still not be ready. But the argument is, if you give us until January, at least we have a little more time to prepare.
Something.
Because the demands we're making now, the same demands which are going to be made in January. It's not as though the demands will be different.
Okay. Then address this same parents or another group of parents who've been asking, so my child is in a candidate class. And they have this serious concern about repeating class, about losing an entire year, about being in standard 8 for another year come 2021. How would you address that? And those who are also pushing the demand and saying, reopen, let them go, let them start learning, let them have their exams and their transition into secondary, let that transition happen, manage that transition. So you see, we have all this.
In fact, let me throw in another ball so that you can juggle 3 into the air. There are those who are actually having online learning. Just actually having normal classroom interactions as you would online.
Yep.
So there's no day when they have not been learning.
As far as they're concerned,
yes, they've been learning.
They've been learning.
Maintaining the hours, going through classes as they would.
And those ones also fall in that category that I mentioned. So now that they've been learning, why can't they transition? That's the question that they're asking themselves. They have been learning. I have been paying the school some form of fees. Why can't they transition to the next class? Why do we have to say that all that goes to waste and we will repeat an entire year? So you see, there was all this pressure coming in from the government, to the government. So the question then would be, what other form of consultation should the government have conducted in order to get in all these views and not using the representatives who you feel were going there and misrepresenting the facts on the ground? But then how would the government have gone to the ground?
The Ministry of Education does not have to deal with land issues or environment, neither does it have to deal with matters of COVID on a daily basis, because there are ministries who are allocated those duties.
Yep.
That's their function, to deal with matters education. That's their function. So this question you're asking me is actually best directed to the Ministry of Education, but since I'm here and I've been shooting my mouth, let me shoot a little more. The truth of the matter is this. In my opinion, it's not that the ministry does not know what to do. They do. They are very clear. As I've said before, that ministry has people who understand these issues. They even know what solutions would best work. They do. Believe me, they are professionals and they know what to do. However, we are in a political dilemma where sometimes this thing which you know you ought to do, you cannot say. So you look for a way of presenting something that you can manage easily. We're talking about balls in the air. The problem may be we don't even need to have any balls in there. They all just need to be in the ground. But you're not going to say that. It is not something that is going to be easy to. So you need to make statements that give you maneuvering room, things that you can shift and say there was this. Because if you actually come out and say, folks, for instance, guys, we don't have money. So since we don't have money, this is what we want to do. Do you see a government official? Do you see a CS standing up to tell you that?
That's one of the problems.
Do you think it's going to happen? It won't happen.
Serious repercussions. Can I take this call? This is Daniel calling in from Kisumu. Good morning, Daniel.
Good morning, Eric and the team.
Morning to you.
Yes, what I want to say on this topic. Hello?
Yes.
Hello. I can hear you.
Yeah, you know, government decision to reopen school, I think it was just informed on by the social ramification of the infection, but not on the physical preparation.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we can say is that schools in Kisumu East, schools that have been submerged due to the rising waters of Lake Victoria are about 6. And I don't think there is enough preparation as the education stakeholders are citing. And then there is also this need for psychosocial support. Eric, what we are seeing is that there is this time bomb. That these children who are going back to school, they've overgrown their age in terms of social interaction. And there is a very greatest need for psychosocial support in that by the time they go to school, there will be some cases. I think without this intervention, there will be some cases of arson attack, or something in the school, the strikes. These are the strikes that are being witnessed. So there is that greater need. But I think the decision to reopen schools was not physical preparation. They've not. In fact, if you check on the account of the school, since April, it has not received any amount from the government. But I had a social thing that on Thursday, Magua saying that on Thursday, money will be remitted in this account.
Today is Thursday.
Yeah, today is Thursday.
Okay.
Let's watch and see.
Let's wait and see whether that happens. Thank you very much, Daniel, for your contribution.
Yeah.
0719-012-600. How else should the government have conducted these consultations before announcing the dates for reopening of schools? Because that's a complaint that, not sufficient consultation was done. How else should it have done this? Or even you can advise it, now that they're required to go back to court before the 15th of October and show a judge that they've done this. How should they do it?
I like the approach Justice Macau had. It really is good. Forget these litigious processes where all of you are involved in this. You are the boss. You are the people who are mandated by law to manage this. You are going to have this discussion. And the findings endorsed by all those people is what you'll bring to me here. Then we'll see the way forward. The country right now is in need of a lot of understanding. I'm going to explain what I mean. Understanding from ourselves that things are not normal and that the situation we are in is unusual, and so it may require unusual solutions. I think the Minister for Health put it quite well. Okay? But those in government also need to understand that because these are unusual times, they can't keep talking to us in the way they are always talking to us and telling us things which mean next to nothing. They want us to figure out, they want us to sort of like understand. We do understand. In fact, the public understands this very well. And the reason why these problems arise is there are questions that have hitherto not been answered on many, many issues in this country. And especially with regards to money. So now if you make the mistake of opening your mouth and saying we don't have money, you'll ask, what do you mean you don't have money? What about this and this and this and this and this and this and this? So that is a discussion you don't bring into the public domain. However, if you're talking about finding a way of doing it, now the government has decided that the citizenry are the true partners. For me, that communication about the tool to educate the community on alternate ways of finding financing, which the government actually should be providing, is what pointed me in the direction of understanding that, indeed, this is an understanding that should have been there from the very beginning.
From the tops.
Yes.
Let's go to the phone lines. Dr. Charles Muga, good morning.
Yes, hi.
How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm fine, thanks. Yes. Greetings, many greetings to Charles Muga, was my old classmate 100 years ago.
Charlie, how are you?
Very fine. Thank
Good
you.
to hear from you.
Yes, happy to see you. I've been trying to see how I can get hold of you. Now, I would like to contribute a little bit of what I think is the problem. We have two basic, huge ministries that are, in my opinion, working in parallel. Things are happening so fast. people, in my opinion, are not sure what they're saying or doing. Is, it's creating so much confusion. I have one son, so we got a note yesterday saying must be in school on Monday. Now, it's in private sector side. Private sector, I don't know who monitors them in terms of these technical requirements for COVID control, etc., etc. I understand in my school, most students have moved over there, so there are more students. Now, who's responsible other than the ministry just saying open schools on Monday? How can this be? I'm afraid because, of course, we are now the at-risk group. In other words, older. My son will go to a school where all sorts of interactions will occur. Children will be children. And they've had since March, April, both ministries, to work out something. They haven't. All we're seeing is what we typically see. And no attempt to try something. This thing should have been tested some time back. And now we're in this confusion. What is supposed to happen? Who's supposed to tell who? Ministry of Education or Ministry of Health about opening of schools? So I'm not impressed one bit. And it just, again, indicates the mediocrity that has come of some of our institutions.
Indeed.
They expect, it's just confusing. I don't know. What needs to be done? I think there should be a timeout. We've had since March. We initially said January. Then those and each side knows very little of the other side's mandate. You understand? Someone in the ministry has no clue how the Ministry of Education, technically should be operating. And people in the Ministry of Education don't know much about the issues of the virus.
It's true. It's true. Dr. Maringo, thank you very much for your contribution. Let's hear from Joy, who's calling in from Kitale. Good morning, Joy.
Morning too.
Good morning.
Yes, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama sana, Joy.
Sasa kwa maoni yangu kwa upande wa watoto kurudi shule, kwa upande wangu ningeomba watoto wangerudi shule next year. Kwa sababu unajua watu wengi tulikuwa wafanya biashara, biashara zikafungwa. Ile kidogo tulikuwa tumeweka tushaitumia. Sasa hizi hatuko ready watoto kurudi shule. Kama jana niliona kwa news ya saa 7. Mtoto ameenda shule, amerudishwa, wanasema asajiliwe upya kwa sababu hakusoma masomo ya mtandao. Mzazi wake amsajili upya, after that school fees yote ilipe. Kwa sababu shule saizi ziko down sana. Hakuna venye mtoto wangu ataenda shule, niende nijieleze, wanisubiri. Lazima nitalipa hiyo school fees. Na kulingana na uwezo wangu, sina a single mother. Nitafanya haje? Nitasaidika haje? Kwa nini shule zisifunguliwe next year? Hii biashara venye imefunguliwa hivi pia nazi tujipange. Unajua kuna wenye wanajiweza, kuna wenye tuko chini. Kuna wenye shule zimefunguliwa wamefurahia kwa sababu wako na hiyo uwezo. Lakini sisi wenye hatukukuwa na hiyo uwezo ama hatuna hiyo uwezo, tutafanya haje? Lazima waangalie pande zote mbili. Kuna mwenye ana uwezo wa kumudu hao watoto warudi shule. Unapata mtu unategemea ile income ya daily. Ukule, watoto pia wakule. Na biashara ilikuwa imefungwa. Hata saa hizi venye imefunguliwa. Mimi hata kwa akaunti yangu nikitafuta 500 peke yake siwezi pata. Hao watoto wataenda shule aje?
Asante sana, Joy. Thank you very much for your contribution.
You're welcome.
Asante sana. Abu Jamal Dennis says 90% of our primary and secondary school learners are underage. We, the parents, are tasked to decide for them. In a country that the government takes 4 months to disburse funds to 47 counties, that wants us to believe that they'll need 2 days to disburse funds to 10,000 schools. Pity. Pity. Maxwell in Lokichogio, good morning.
Morning to you guys. How are you?
We're well, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, my take on this. Number one, what has the government ever done since we did the lockdown? Because there's nothing tangible other than stealing money from KEMSA, left, right, and center. There's nothing much that has been done, in my opinion. Number two, I think we've just opened the economy. It's not even been a month since the economy was opened. So my take would have been, we first of all realize the full economical, as in they open the economy fully, where people are working normally, invest in people, give people loans so that they can recover within the next 2-3 months. And then after that, then tell them that we'll be opening in January. So do savings, cancel your December holidays, do whatever you need to do, but be ready for
January. Schools
for January. And then there's nothing much that has been done in these public schools, because I've visited several. Even the teachers themselves have not even settled, because as the Sosion was talking the other day, that the teachers have been given instructions on what to do. The teachers were basically lounging in the school, and what the ministry was doing is going around to check whether the teachers are actually in school. It was like a roll call.
Okay.
So the government really needs to be serious. I might not have a problem with my kid going back to school even tomorrow. Maybe I earn and I do a few businesses here and there. But then what about this other parent who is in public school?
True.
Who
Many
lost their job and then how many of these so-called parent representatives really come from the community, from the Mwananchi?
That's a very good question.
Big questions.
Yeah, because
thank you, Maxwell. Thank you for
Yeah.
your contribution. Let's hear from Motishabi in Mombasa. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Habari ya
Good
leo.
morning.
Nzuri.
Okay, Motishabi, what do you feel? Was this the right decision to make at this time?
Mimi nilikuwa naonelea maono yangu ni kuwa wafungue tu shule on January, since watoto wameagree na watoto watakubali tu hata kama ni kurepeat. Kwa haiwezi kuwa ati watafungulia class 4, 8 na form 4. 4 arudi shule, wakati sasa kama class 4 atarudi shule, what about others? Bado next year bado wa class 4 atarepeat. Na uwezi niambia class 8 atafanya mtihani mwezi wa 3. What about yule mwenye kufungua? Sasa hiyo itakuwa inaleta confusion. At least wangeri open tu shule on January. Kurepeat si shida, mtoto atavumilia tu, bora tu amalize.
Asante Motishabi. Let's hear from Eddie Johnson in Kisumu. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Eddie. I think we lost Eddie. Unfortunately. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Of course, very many comments also coming in on our social media handles. You know, with the honestly, what is there to consult with massive job cuts and a struggling economy? They should have left it to January as parents look for school fees. This is what Mwenda Kisilu is saying. Very many of these opinions, people really talking about January.
And that's what I was saying. It's worth considering in these stakeholder sessions. It cannot be that you painted one picture and then do you think that, or is the really belief there that these representatives of these associations went out countrywide and this is what they heard from people, and then now parents are doing a backflip or teachers are doing a backflip? I don't think so. I will take it out there with my full chest and say, look, it's very possible that these people were not consulted. The true picture of what it is that they were not consulted. And the situation on the ground is very different from what the brushstrokes are painting within those offices where they're having these consultations.
You know, the other place where the consultations also took place is when parents communicate to their children. And so children anticipate that they will be going back to school in January. And then you're now telling them it is October.
And you gave them 5 days to do that.
Yes. Again, however, there's an opportunity here that we have with this matter that is before the justice. And the opportunity is for some honest discussion. And you've alluded to this. You've actually mentioned, forget alluding, you've mentioned it. Some honest discussion, an opportunity has arisen here.
To tell the truth.
Just look, folks.
Tell the truth.
Because we're actually in this together. It isn't as though some people are in it and some are
You
out.
over there.
No. We are all in this together. If your children are old enough and you are no longer in school, you may have grandchildren. If your children are working, they have children. If your children don't have children, you have relatives.
Everybody's a stakeholder.
Everybody's a stakeholder in this
Indeed.
one. Yeah.
It's time for us to say goodbye to our audience on KTN Home. Thank you very much for tuning in from 7 up to now. Join us again tomorrow. Remember, we are live on KTN Home every weekday, Monday to Friday, 7 to 9. But the show is live on Spice FM every weekday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. This is the one and only talk show, morning talk show on Kenyan radio that looks at all manner of things that affect our society, from leadership to governance to policy to laws to international relations, both locally, regionally, and internationally. So join us again tomorrow on Spice FM and KTN Home. But this conversation, of course, continues on KTN, on Spice FM. Tell you about the John Maxwell Leadership Live to Lead event tomorrow.
Right,
Buy
so
your ticket.
Yep, Lead to Live gives you an opportunity to really get some of those leadership aspects right under your collar here. And Standard Group, in partnership with Value Connect, is giving this opportunity. 19,900 shillings, buy a ticket, and you get the opportunity to be on the same platform with a number of individuals who give great and poignant insights into this, plus direct insights from John Maxwell himself. You can buy a ticket, 0719-012-520. That's 0719-012-520 or 0799-748-069, 0799-748-069. And you can get a ticket and all other wonderful things happening when you have access.
All right. For a chance to win a copy of this book, This by John Maxwell, just go to our social media handles, Spice FM KE on Facebook and Twitter, and give us your most powerful leadership quote. CT Muga will be giving us the winner of the next book in the next hour. Keep it right here. It's 6 minutes to 9 o'clock.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Mwenda Kisilu continues to say that either our government is incompetent or blatantly insensitive. And this is on this issue of opening of schools. Mutenda Weso says, well, for one, the government should have employed the right people to run the ministry, and he should kijinga hainge kuwepo.
Okay. Let me read some of the quotes.
For now, the most powerful leadership quotes.
Well, there's Chege Wandungu. Leadership is not about the next election. It's about the next generation. That's one. Okay. Mwinyi Henry, the single biggest way to impact an organization is to focus on leadership. The pessimist complains about the wind. The optimist expects it to change. The leader adjusts the sails. The very essence of leadership is that you have to have vision. All right. And then, leadership is something you earn, something you're chosen for. You can't come in yelling, I'm your leader. If it happens, it's because the other guys respect you. Okay. Right. Margaret Atieno, the ultimate goal of leadership is not to maintain followers, but to produce leaders. Yes?
The ultimate goal of?
The ultimate goal of leadership is not to maintain followers, but to produce leaders, by Miles Monroe. In fact, the quotation of leadership that I mentioned earlier is by some gentleman by the name of Ben Roethlisberger. Is a Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback. That was a tongue twister. Burger. Okay. Now,
So, which of those do you want to give this book to?
I want to give it to Margaret Atieno. The ultimate goal of leadership is not to maintain followers, but to produce leaders.
Margaret Atieno. Congratulations, Margaret. Very good quote. You get a copy of this book by John C. Maxwell, the #1 New York Times best-selling author. Leader Shift, the 11 essential changes that every leader must embrace. This book will be coming to you. Our social media producer, Brian, will be in touch with you shortly, and then he'll coordinate how the book comes to you. Very good. We still have one more book to give in the next hour.
Mm-hmm.
So, send in the quotes.
Keep the quotes coming in. Most powerful leadership quote. Spice FMKE on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram as well, because Brian is also checking there as well. Yep. So that conversation of education and what needs to happen. Let's see if the education ministry listens to the court and decides this time not just to go back and call the same people and let them sign that they attended a meeting, but open up the meeting a little bit. Let's have a bit more representatives of the people coming in.
But let's also be honest about this discussion. I mean, these are grown-ups. These are people who you are talking to, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, I mean, something so simple. You can't tell me, and again, I'm going to take issue with a number of the heads of associations, for example, even the teachers' unions, the KNUT, and KUPET, and also the Private Schools Association, who told us over and over again that we're ready. You've got a school that's underwater. That's just one example. How are you possibly going to say that everybody is ready? It's clear that that's not the situation. It is clear.
Okay. Did we speak to the leadership of the head of the school to find out, or even the education? Or even the education officials there to find out what measures have been put in place to ensure that these children still access learning, maybe from nearby schools?
This particular story is actually in the paper today, right? And what did this particular school head say? I will find those details for you in a bit as you keep talking.
All right. So this is Lake Baringo.
Lake Baringo Secondary School.
Lake Baringo Mixed Secondary School, which obviously, because of what's happening around Lake Baringo and the other Rift Valley lakes, is underwater. So obviously, it's not available for learning next week, as the Ministry of Education has ordered. So we want to find out. So what is it that is going to happen to the students who belong to that school? Let's go to the top of the hour, look at traffic, and then we'll come and see what the school heads and the education heads in this region have said about such schools. It's a situation room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Remember, we are still receiving your most powerful leadership quotes on Spice FM KE, Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram. In the next hour, we have more conversations. Good morning. It's now 9 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Traffic.
Is it getting any better on Mombasa Road? Yes, slightly, ever so slightly. Still moving very slowly, and that's inbound to the CBD this morning. Terrible accident that happened earlier on, so we're still looking at a traffic situation there. Still looking at some traffic at around Gara getting into the city. Outer Ring today, absolute mess. Coming off of Jogo Road today, has now enjoyed some of that traffic, guys, getting to the City Stadium roundabout and into the city centre. So everywhere we look today, there has been a lot of traffic. There was another accident that happened on Langata Road that's slowing down traffic significantly as you get to the Timor roundabout. Bagadi Way, however, is smooth, as is Ngong Road, heading towards Valley Road and into the CBD. That looks good. So we'll be out of traffic hours soon enough, but we still have some trouble spots today, guys. I know it was a bad morning in terms of traffic, but hopefully it will get better. Okay, you're stuck somewhere, let us know. Find an alternate route, let us know as well. Somewhere that not everybody's on. Yes, Spice FM KE on Twitter, or text us 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Nduh Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
2.5 minutes after 9 o'clock. The conversation continues right here on Spice FM. And also, we are getting your most powerful leadership quotes coming in. So there's Obara Brian, who says victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win.
Some depth there.
Yeah, I wonder whether C.T. Muga would feel like this one is moved by this one to give this person the book. Okay. So yesterday, the what's it called? The National Security Advisory Committee, NSAC. The National Security Advisory Committee, chaired by the head of public service, Dr. Joseph Kenyua, had a meeting, and then they addressed the public, and they said they announced stringent measures to curb political violence as defiant DP pushes on with campaigns for 2022, according to what the Standard has written. The Nation says that this was the president himself firing the warning shot to halt rebellion, warning politicians that they'll be held to account for utterances at gatherings and on social media. This is following the huge public outcry after the 2 deaths that are witnessed on Sunday at Kennel in Murang'a County. We looked at this when we were discussing the newspaper review early in the morning. Said, all right, so first of all, the National Security Advisory Committee is quoting existing law. Says there is law, there is the NCIC Act, there is the Public Order Act. There are very many other pieces of legislation that then talk about what you should do as you're conducting public meetings, what you should do as you're conducting political meetings and political gatherings, how we should behave ourselves to ensure that we retain national cohesion and integration. And it appears, and according to the NSAC, there is growing concern and worry that we are veering off this mark. And that's why the NSAC was then coming out to remind us of what the law says and telling us that the security agencies shall not hesitate to go ahead and enforce these pieces of legislation. Questions then emerge. Do you think that when we heard this from Dr. Kenyua yesterday and the National Security Advisory Committee, do you think that the political leaders who heard this were like, okay, wow, the riots act has been read, so now we change tack? Do you think that those who were sitting and planning, those who had actually perpetrated and planned for youth to be ferried to Kennel on Sunday, sat back and they felt, I cannot repeat this again? Do you think leaders, when they're planning for the next meetings, because meetings are going to be held up until 2022, do you think leaders of all cadres are going to be thinking, there's the NCIC Act, and there's the...
It'll be a level playing field because no one will be allowed to have meetings. So you cannot complain and say, but so-and-so is having... You don't have to stop anybody because it will stop. It will not exist. Now, you can go to court and talk about your rights having been infringed upon. But if you are looking at 2 things, remember, we were talking about health. Now, the moment you see violence coming out of this meeting, you can rest assured you will hear of violence in another meeting. So if you want to stop 2 things, you want to stop the spread of the virus, which we know spreads through the air and in large gatherings and close proximity, and this is what these meetings do, stop the meetings. Yes. No more meet the tour.
Be definitive. just like you talked about it being no more meet the people too. Okay, you talked about it being having gray areas, Eric, and that's the thing. You're still kind of playing around with it. Okay, can we? Shall we? How do you think you're going to be able to police and make sure that when people have these meetings, they don't say things that are incendiary or they don't incite people? How? Unless you're going to put a filter between somebody's brain and mouth.
The truth is you
cannot.
You can't.
You can't. You're only going to be dealing with consequences after the fact. You're only going to be dealing with consequences after there was violence. People have operated under greater threat and have still flouted the rules. There has been greater threat to even people's lives. There have been threats of incarceration. There have been threats of other kinds of charges brought against people, and that has not stopped them from doing anything. Now you're making a suggestion that, okay, if something should arise, you'll be faced with the full force of the law. So how is that going to stop anybody from doing anything?
But halting meetings, that cannot happen forever. There will come a time when you'll have to open up and allow people to resume their normal lives.
You will stagger it in the same way
especially in the lead up to 2022, when official season for campaigns is here, you will allow people to. Now, will that stop people from organizing violence?
No.
Will that stop people from speaking the way they're speaking now?
Between now and 2022, if you're talking about health issues, the possibilities of COVID not being what it is now are huge. Huge. Whether you're talking about a vaccine, whether you're talking about us just understanding the virus more than we do, or just us getting to a point where we know how to live with the virus without it having all these dire consequences. Now, we're talking about now and the immediate future. If you stop people from simply meeting, yes, it will deal a serious blow to many, many politicians, but it will be across border. No one can say they've been picked on because it will be for everybody. Now, the avenue they may choose is to go to churches. It may also mean stopping harambes. We've stopped them in the past. What I'm trying to say is, unless we understand that we have a serious problem and we deal with this serious problem with serious decisions, these decisions that we don't usually like making, then we can talk about solutions the whole day if we see
What is the serious problem? Is it the pandemic?
No, the serious problem is the mindset. This impunity we keep talking about.
Okay.
So how do you halt? You can't stop them from talking. You can't stop them from meeting if in large numbers. So what do? You make it a rule. You are not meeting in large numbers. You are not having political rallies. You are not having political meetings.
Then now we'll go back into being, a draconian state and all that.
Let us go to court about it and let us
because
have those
that is the other thing that is. These rights are enshrined in the Constitution. These are rights that you have as a citizen. You have the right to assembly, freedom of assembly. You have all these rights.
Yes, but we don't have the right to create an atmosphere in which people can die when they don't need to.
Now this is where the other issue comes in. Why not enforce this law? Why do you have to go the full hog of saying don't meet?
No, because people will understand it better if you go the full hog.
This is not Sweden where you make suggestions and then people can just, okay, we'll
Maybe
go
not.
along with it. No. It's clear that in the past they've shown you that you make a suggestion and they might as well take it and flush it down the toilet. They're not going to go with your suggestion.
Why are we having this problem with the education sector? It's because all the discussions about open, don't open, go left, go right, it was the media people read, and parents were taking it in, as were the students. Then came the mention of, look, all things considered, January seems to be the time.
Yep.
So people settled and said, okay, fine, January. There were those, but maybe we should. But the voices that were saying maybe we should were not as loud enough as those saying, okay, January seems good. Now you hear voices again, and you're hearing them, many of them, and you're hearing them loudly. Why? You've been told, actually, scrap January, October.
Now.
We are in October. All I'm saying is this. If you really want a solution, go back to when COVID first struck. We locked down. Were people's rights not infringed upon? They were. But there was a greater good at play here.
Did people die in large numbers?
No, they did not. How did we benefit from that lockdown? Yes, we're still enjoying the benefits even now. So, my friend, lock down these meetings. Just lock them down. The elections are in 2022, not December 2020.
Because
Lock
the
the thing
truth of the
down
matter is
completely.
that it's assumed that people know the politicians who use these meetings for a particular tool, if you like to use that word. They know it's a tool in their arsenal that's going to get them ahead in the game. They know. And so you can say whatever you want to say. I do agree. It should be made law. But because of the fact that you're dancing around and prancing about, it's not been made law. Nobody's really going to say or do anything about it. So you know that it's something that you can use to gain yourself some kind of expediency. Nobody is going to, even when it is the law. How many times do you
But
see
we
people
do have
following it?
laws that relate directly to campaigning for elections.
How many people follow them? How many people follow them?
We do have those laws. More importantly,
See, the thing is, when people don't follow the law, take action, because the law has the repercussions for not following that law. Every piece of legislation has that.
Why has actually... Okay, let's just take Sunday, for example.
And that's why my focus is take action. Stop saying that you do not take action. When you say that, you have stopped people were not going for a political rally on Sunday in Murang'a.
They were going for a political rally.
They were going to a church service.
That is a political rally.
In all manner of, if we were just to look at it formally, this was going to be, it was a church.
Politicians in a church.
Church is
rally.
Church is allowed to happen, and this politician has been invited to come and attend church. Or a politician has just decided, you know what, I like this church, let me just pop in to this church.
They pop in all the time. It doesn't make news.
Yeah.
They even have specific churches that they go to.
So
it is not news.
where do we draw that distinction?
Harambe, out.
No Harambe, all right.
Forget
I'm just
about
coming
it.
to church.
By all means, go and attend church.
All right. And then I'm going to speak to the congregation in the church.
No.
Politician.
You're not the pastor.
Let the pastor speak.
Let the pastor preach to you. That's why
End
they
of
go to
story.
church. It's like going
Everybody
to
listens
class.
to the pastor, greet them and say good morning. No. Do
this-
what everybody
worship
is the
In
same.
this church of ours, we are now going to allow people to give their testimony.
Yes, the politician wants to give his testimony.
Yep.
By all means, give your
So he
testimony.
stands up to give his testimony and speak.
And
to
then
the
makes a
church- to the
political
church.
speech. All right. That is the last time that person will speak in any church. No, I know this thing sounds draconian, but let me explain something. Any opportunity that a politician is given to speak, believe me, it becomes a political speech. It doesn't matter where you are. If people are speaking unspeakables in church, unspeakables, you think if they're given even just 1 minute or 30 seconds to speak in a
Outside
church,
where
they
there's
will
no
not.
moral guardian.
And there's this, first of all, there's this crowd of
There's an
people.
attentive
Free
audience.
audience. Funeral. Free audience. They will speak. Stop. The thing that the politician will understand is if they are not allowed to have that audience, and neither are they allowed to do what they like doing. That one, they'll get the message. But this one where it's still fluid, maybe, perhaps, no. Remember, there's been talk about political campaigning for 2022 for the longest time. If we were to strictly, if I'm to go by your argument, if we were to strictly follow the rules of engagement with regards to the law and with regards to our laws in this country, that law has been broken more times than you can count.
Very many times.
Even as these announcements were being made yesterday, I am still yet to hear the people who, because you can't tell me that they don't know. We just talked about today at Westgate how they were able to trace to the letter who came in, bought a car, sneezed through the tissue in which particular dustbin, in which area.
Called
They
their
knew.
brother.
They knew, exactly. Called, spoke for 10 minutes and 2 seconds. They knew.
And those things are detailed.
Then you want to tell me that you can't find who organized some meeting that took place in Murang'a that 2 people died? Get out of here. Tell me something else. Till today, we're still dancing around this issue and saying, oh, well, here's a new edict that we put in place that such and such should not happen. Whereas the law is there, you're not doing anything about it. People have not been brought to book. On Thursday, this thing happened on Sunday. And I told you guys on Monday when we talked about it, I said, the week will end. Nobody will be asked questions. They invited them to come and have a conversation. Nobody went anywhere.
And nothing has
Nobody's
happened.
being asked questions. Nothing has been done. Nothing will be done. But then you bring out this thing and then you want to again make a suggestion. Tomorrow is another rally that's going to happen. You're making a suggestion to people that actually don't do this or we will do this. Meanwhile, the one that happened, you've done nothing about it. Nothing.
Eric, I want us to revisit this. We brought in an interesting point about the testimony, right? It's about rights. The church has a right to allow members or visitors to give a testimony. Let's say, for instance, you belong to a church and you had, say, a reformed sex worker who wants to give a testimony about her life in details.
We allow her.
Yes, and
Right.
starts by saying that since this particular spiritual experience I have felt this great need to speak the truth to the people. And you cannot speak the truth without naming names.
And I tell you how it really was.
For instance, there are clients whom I had who are called general clients or specific clients, and the ones who paid well. One of the reasons why I've come to this church is because this particular pastor was a well-paying client.
A platinum client.
Oh, but when they shut her down real fast.
How far do you think that testimony is going to go? How far do you think that testimony is going to go?
It ends there.
Yes.
This is a demon
even
coming
before
to
they
cast
see her,
aspersions on
before
her.
she opens her mouth and somebody knows that expert, she won't go anywhere.
So-
Same thing.
And actually,
You can see incendiary statements coming. They're just actually coming towards you, and then you allow them to happen. Why? Why?
No.
It's walking towards you.
the thing is, anytime the state has intervened in such matters, unfortunately, our history has been, it has been with those who are considered to be in the opposition.
Yep.
Shut them down. Don't do this. But this one, it's everyone.
Everyone.
Shut everyone.
Even BBI.
Everyone.
You see
No
now
one.
why what you're saying will not happen?
Well, if we want to talk at the problem, then let's talk
Let's
at the
continue
problem.
talking
But let's
that way.
not
But
tell
if you actually want to
lies
do
that we're
something-
actually trying to do something about it. Because we
Yeah.
definitely are not.
Stopping meetings will not happen. That's why they did not come out to even mention anything like that.
We know
Go
what
around,
to do.
apply to the
But
OCPD.
if you want to solve the- unless
and the
you don't really-
OCPD will decide who he allows and who he doesn't allow.
Then let us now accept that they don't really want to stop the problem.
So
You don't really want to stop the problem. You want
If
to talk about
indeed
it,
we
something
don't want
happens,
to stop the
there's
problem-
some fracas here and there, then you want to come out and make a statement, and then everybody says, for a minute, and then you say, okay, somebody's doing something about it. You don't really want to stop the problem. Because if you really wanted to stop the problem, you would put a nip in it right there.
Nah,
Because you
lie.
know what the problem, you don't want to stop it.
Nah, lie.
I'm saying a lie. You don't want to stop it. Tell the truth. You don't want to stop it. If you wanted to stop it, you would come up with things that just what's it saying? Everything out. Stop it.
everyone.
The same
Everyone.
way, the
Same
same way when
measuring,
COVID,
same.
the same way COVID came, you said, wait a minute. It would seem that bars and nightclubs and establishments of social nature at night would be channels through which this thing can be spread. Did they say that the bars on the left side of Mombasa Road should be closed and the ones on the right side of Mombasa Road should No, everybody close it.
Not just bar.
Why?
Bar and restaurant,
Close.
shut. Hotels, shut.
Because you know that is a tool for which this thing can spread. Shut it down.
19
But here you
minutes
are
after.
dancing around with it.
Let's look at the weather. 19 minutes after 9. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Do you agree with what Nduh and Muga are saying today? They're recommending stop all manner of political meetings. Do not say at you go and apply to the OCPD or go and inform the local police boss that you're going to have a meeting. No more meetings. 0719 012 600 or 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice FM, Nakuru.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, everything nice. Spice FM.
The weather with
It's mostly
Spice
sunny in Nairobi at
FM.
21 degrees. We'll see highs today of 28 and lows of 14 in Njeri. The highs will be at 26 today and partly cloudy conditions through the day. Highs of 25 and rainy conditions in Nakuru later, currently at 19 degrees and mostly sunny. It's mostly sunny in Eldoret at 17 degrees, I beg your pardon. Highs of 23 and lows of 12 with a chance of rains later. It's going to be a rainy afternoon in Kisumu. It's currently mostly sunny conditions at 24. The highs will be 27 in Kakamega and rains in the afternoon. Mombasa is partly cloudy and will be so through the day. Highs of 29 and lows of 24. Malindi is partly cloudy at 27 degrees, highs of 29 and lows of 26, with a chance of rains later on. It's also going to be wet and rainy in Kampala later, mostly cloudy at the moment at 22. Dar es Salaam will be sunny conditions throughout today, highs of 32 and lows of 22. Let's take a look into Joburg, where it's mostly sunny this morning at 13 degrees, going to highs of 22. And it still continues to rain sheets in Lagos, and now thunderstorms and cloudy conditions with highs of 30. All right, let's look through into Beijing, where it's now Thursday evening. It's still sunny conditions. We'll have a high of 21, and as it goes to evening, 21 degrees the high and cloudy. Let's take a look into London, where It's mostly cloudy at 16 degrees and a chance of showers later on. The high will be 18 and lows of 7. In Paris, it's cloudy at 15 degrees, highs of 19 and lows of 14. And we'll finish things off in New York, where clear skies have entered into Thursday and sunny conditions will last through the day with highs of 19 and lows of 11.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
22 minutes after 9. So the National Security Advisory Council yesterday met, and this is what they said. All public meetings and public processions shall be held in strict compliance with Section 5 of the Public Order Act, Cap 56 laws of Kenya. The convener of any person intending to hold a public meeting or a public procession shall notify the OCS of such intent at least 3 days, but no more than 14 days before the proposed date of the meeting. Be present throughout the meeting or procession and assist the police in the maintenance of peace and order at the meeting or procession. Obey all orders given to them or her by the OCS or any police officer of or above the rank of inspector. At all times, bind themselves to be peaceful and non-violent and keep to the designated places of public meetings or public processions. Any person who so elects to attend or participate in a public meeting or procession shall, pursuant to the law, exercise a high sense of civic duty and responsibility and not be in a possession of any weapon. At all times, bind themselves to be peaceful and non-violent. Report to the relevant authority incidents of hate speech, incitement to violence, ethnic contempt, or any other offense. Respect the freedom of expression of other people. Not abuse, exclude, demean, stereotype, or profile other people. Not propagate insurgency and socio-economic hostility among and between Kenyans, and maintain strict observance of the law for the safety and well-being of everyone present. It goes on, and there are more conditions. All these conditions, we're looking at them and asking ourselves, are these enough to stop a repeat of what we saw happening in Murang'a on Sunday? So you've gone to the OCS, you've told the OCS, you know what, I'm going to Kano on Sunday. OCS tells you, fine. And then you go in there and you shall be present throughout this meeting, you shall obey all. Is it enough to stop what we're witnessing?
It is actually a good reminder of what the law says, and it's something that one should actually take seriously, because if really implemented, that actually is the law. But I was thinking about what you had been saying, Eric, about people's rights. And it's not a point I want to downplay. Let me give this perspective. Since we have on many occasions asked our students, our learners, to actually find, and those in charge of that particular learning, to find alternative ways of ensuring that people learn, have a Zoom rally. Okay? So that your rights are not infringed. If indeed you feel that you need to talk to people, find a way of communicating that doesn't involve people gathering physically in large places.
Does that stop you from spewing hate speech?
You see, my friend, it is actually easier to track, it is easier to control, it's easier to manage. Because if what you are saying, we have an entire agency that just deals with the communication. You can be shut down with just the touch of a button, and that's the end of that particular story of yours. Your freedoms will not be interfered with, as you correctly put it. It's just that the moment you allow people to physically meet and gather in large groups, the problems it's a myriad of problems. It's not one problem. Yes. Now, it isn't as though what needs to be done again is not known to those in government. It is known, but it may not necessarily be popular. And election season is with us, as Nduh says it, silly season of election is with us. So people who even know what ought to do, or what ought to be done, will not do it.
Nope.
They will do what they consider to be expedient. Yes. Yes, there'll be a hue and cry, but it'll be correct. Let there be a hue and cry.
So your stand is no meetings,
Forget
no
it.
physical
Forget
meetings
it. Stop.
at all.
That's the ingredient for folks to do whatever they
Yes.
want. That's the ingredient. So now, if you don't want this result, if the end result is causing chaos, and this ingredient is the channel, this tool is what they use to get there, remove it.
And you see it. You know, Eric, this isn't something that we need. It's an experiment that has been done, and the results are out, and the analysis is clear.
Oh, for sure. We're only saying it is because it's what we've seen. It's what we've seen. It's not like it's something.
And
that
this
happened
isn't the first
in
time
another-
we've
on
seen
another
it.
planet. It's
It's not the first time
regularly.
we've seen it in
But
this
in
country.
terms of something else that, with the statements that we saw being made yesterday by NSAC, have we seen anything like this before? Have we seen any kind of announcement in public about what you can or cannot say in the way in which you should or shouldn't carry out yourself?
How many times have we heard
There
it?
have
Isn't
been-
it?
There have been many
Exactly.
attempts.
It has happened severally. Has that changed the behavior and attitudes of said
No.
politicians in the past?
No.
Okay. So with this that we saw yesterday when there was this hullabaloo, what's to guarantee that with these statements as they were made yesterday is to guarantee that even this weekend moving forward
Yep.
that we are going to see change?
Actually,
The situation is going to be different.
I like that situation, and I like the statements that were made because, in all honesty, it is sometimes important to
remind
inform.
people, do a
Yes,
rejig.
remind them, inform them, and tell them, folks, just so that you know. And as Kenyans like saying, to propagate the avoidance of doubt. Okay? This is what the law says, this is what it states, and this is what you must do. And this is what we have the power to do, and this is what we expect you, this is the part we expect you to play. Now, that having been done, shut it down.
Can't do it, won't do it, because it's not a matter of you don't know.
Shut down all meetings.
Shut down all meetings. Shut down.
Because you have proven that you've proven that you can't use these for the way in which rallies were intended in the very beginning, for political meetings or for whatever you want to call them.
Okay.
The original purpose for which their intent is not being used.
You know, strictly speaking, and that's why I keep pushing back, strictly speaking, we have not had political rallies in the last 1 month.
Strictly speaking, we've had political rallies.
Strictly speaking, what we've had is leaders going to visit places, going to
And
church, or a leader hosting people at his home, or a leader just, passing by and people stopping by the roadside to say hi to them. That is what we have seen, strictly speaking.
Strictly speaking.
Yes.
Well, strictly here means what exactly? Eric?
Strictly here means, a political rally is where we are saying that this is a rally. For example, the BBI rallies that were being held around the country. All right? The rally in Kitui was a proper, strictly speaking, that was a meeting to discuss BBI. A political rally, strictly speaking, is where we are saying that this is politicians are going to come here and they're going to address people on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 issues.
Strictly speaking.
Strictly speaking. Okay. So we could say, actually, strictly speaking, that Kisii and Mombasa,
What are
where
those?
we've seen Raila and the DP going, those could be called political rallies.
Strictly speaking.
Strictly speaking.
Okay.
But others, and that's where they look for those leeways. They say, it's. I was just going around, I was visiting this area. I went for a funeral because you can't stop funerals. We were going for a funeral. We were going to visit a friend of ours who's sick. We were going to visit a certain village who a friend of ours lost their loved one, so we were just going to console with them. And that's what happened. And people also came. Others were coming to also console with this person. And we ended up just talking. It was not a political rally. Did we require to inform the OCS 3 days prior or 14 days to the meeting that we were going to have a funeral on this day and that we were going to attend? Yeah. All permits for burial had been secured. Did we break the law? No. I'm looking for loopholes in which our political leaders are likely to exploit.
Do you know when we first had the COVID pandemic and we were dealing with burials, thank you for mentioning funerals, there was a strictness about it that immediately educated the Kenyan public about, one, the disease and what ought to be done. And people adhered. Things that you would have thought, no, this one, we're going to have a problem with this one. They didn't. They said, no, we understand. If there is need for people to be, and only 3 or 4 people, they understood. Something that is sacrosanct to many Kenyans, going to a place of worship, they understood. And why did they understand it? Because they were now prevented from actually doing what they were used to, physically going there. Did it stop them from having services or having the religious activities? The answer is no.
No.
They just changed the way of going about it. Now, what you're saying takes into account something which unfortunately is not true about most of our politicians. We are arguing as though our politicians are wonderful people who are known for speaking the truth before man and God all the time.
Yep.
That is something they very rarely do. So, when a politician says he's going for a funeral, that is the truth. Someone has died, they're going for a funeral. They are there to say, to condole, very true. But man, the opportunity.
Of course.
It's an opportunity. This is a politician. They are people. And this is their stock in trade. They will, it doesn't matter how, you can give them 2 lorry loads of good intentions. When they see that crowd, my friend, they are going to open their mouth and speak. So
Everything evaporates.
just so that, just a certain understanding that silence also can be a virtue sometimes. Stop. Not happening.
No
Understanding that they're
politician
human beings.
addressing anybody anywhere.
Because they've not
Go to church by all means. If you
But
want to
do
address
not
after
speak.
the church service, talk to your people. The way people gather around and talk. Do that.
Shake hands with your fellow congregants.
No, there's COVID, don't
But
shake
do
hands.
not
Touch elbows.
touch elbows.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. But this one of you going to the pulpit and starting by the normal salutations that people have, for instance, in a church. It starts with God is good, and then everybody knows what they should respond, and all the time everything is okay. Then you have a situation where the person now just takes a complete left turn completely and then reverses, and you're wondering, are we in church?
Are we still in the same
Where are we?
Where
You must
are
actually
we
look
really?
around.
Yes.
And ask yourself, where are we? What are
That
we
is
doing?
what is likely to happen, and that is what builds up and creates the problems we're talking about.
Stop
it.
all meetings. Do you agree with CT Muga and Nduh Okoh? 0719-012-600. We take your calls next. Let's see what's happening on Mombasa Road. Has the situation improved? Is it better? Is it worse? Well, let's look at what's happening on the roads.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Traffic.
Okay, so people who were on Mombasa Road when it was dark, we've now seen them in the flesh. So looking a little bit better? Yes, I think so. Still a little bit of traffic as you are around the SGR and then headed towards Cabanas. That's going to be there for a while, guys, but at least it is moving. So that is good news. No? Yes. Kiambu Road is where we still have a bit of a problem trying to then join the Thika Superhighway. Traffic is all clear within Kiambu town and the surroundings, however. Thika Road, still be careful. You can use the service lanes now. That clog up has disappeared. Still a bit of traffic on Langata Road, but we're getting to the point where officially out of traffic hour, it should stave off and we should be fine. Okay, still be careful. Spice FM KE. That's how you can reach us on Twitter or text us on 40127. There's the 0.
Spice FM, Nakuru. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
I'm falling off my seat.
Why?
I don't know, man.
Okay.
I didn't know. Trevor, the melanin royalty, says politicians should just be banned from campaigns and media blackout extended to all of them. No coverage in capital letters, print and digital. Let them all grapple to get the attention that the voters through social media, if they even can. Agrees with you that ban all politicians from all campaigns and let them also not get any coverage in the media,
You know, the problem we have
the
is
mainstream media.
any gathering, no matter how innocent it begins, will turn into a rally. It will turn into a rally. That's the level of our impunity.
You know,
Please go ahead.
the reason why I'm not coming out really to support what you're saying is because I'm still also getting this pull on the other side. It's as if we are responding to grave danger by, so we have built on riparian land, then it starts flooding and the water gets into our home. And so now what you're trying to do is you're trying to move the river, creating a new channel for the river. The issue is we know who the problem is. If the problem is politicians, and it's because not all politicians spew hate, not all politicians preach this kind of violence that we're talking about, but because of a certain brand of politicians, why not deal with the individual perpetrator?
Actually, Eric,
Why not just go ahead and there's a law? We are quoting all these laws.
It's a lovely point you make, Eric, but that is what laws are premised on. It covers everyone, but not everyone needs it.
Not everybody's going to break the law. It just happens to be that there were a few people
So deal with
who
those that
were
break the
breaking
law.
But then the thing is, you can't judge and say every time who will it be. It could be somebody today. It could be somebody else tomorrow. That's why you have a law
Deal
that
with them.
covers all.
Yes. The
The law covers all, just like the same way we're saying the Public Order Act covers everybody on how you conduct yourself.
It
The
does.
NCIC Act covers everybody. All these are the laws, they cover everybody. Now, those who break the law, deal with them
You see,
in accordance with the law.
What we're discussing here, Eric,
Why go the full hog of this law by saying now, because
because
we're going to use, there's a provision in the
Yes,
Public Order
I
Act
understand.
that says ban everything.
because
Why go to that
we
point?
have evolved and developed a Kenyan tradition of disregarding the law. It's a pattern. And the group of people who appear to lead this pack consistently happen, unfortunately, to be our politicians.
Leaders.
Yes.
Let's go to the phone lines. Karaoke in Wakulima Market, Nakuru. Good morning, Karaoke.
Good morning to you guys. How are you?
We're
Good,
fine.
thank you.
I'm not feeling well, but let me
Oh,
contribute a
Pole.
little.
What is it that is the matter, Karaoke?
There's a problem here in our market. You know, we are back to where we used to be, and you know, the price is smaller. And anyway, I will discuss that one tomorrow, but not today.
Okay.
Please get well soon.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, CP and Duka, you know, there is a wind of change in this country. And I know when there is something like that, there's always, and the men in the government always try all they can to divert the attention of the people. But you know, whatever this guy is doing, the vice president, if you come down here, you'll hear what people are saying.
What are they saying, Karaoke?
As Eric has said, the perpetrators are known. Remember when the vice president once again went to Kiambu and gave the contribution of food. Remember that day?
Yep.
And after that, somebody else came and gave the same kind of food, but they were poisoned somehow. And the perpetrators are well known, but no action was taken. Even in this case, the perpetrators are known, but nothing is going to be taken because in one way or the other, the government hand is involved. If you go back to security forces, those who are involved were supposed to have protected the people or the vice president at that particular day on Sunday. Remember, they were withdrawn from order from an authority above. Remember that? So what I'm saying, even if they try how, the window of change has come and the day is coming. Whether they try any means, down here, the grassroots people know what's going on, and they know what they are going to do. So what I'm saying, Doka and City, I don't agree with you.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
disagreeing with us, Karaoke.
Thank you, Karaoke,
Thank you.
for your call.
Thank you.
James, still in Nakuru. Good morning, James.
Morning to you, Eric.
How are you?
Nduh and City. I'm well.
Good morning.
No, my view on the whole politics and church. If you come to a place of worship, pray, worship. You want to give speeches, get out of the place of worship compound, do your speeches, because not everybody that you find in a place of worship supports you or would want to listen to you. If you want to give any speeches, do it outside the place of worship, after people are done with the worship.
Does it change anything? So, I've come to church, I've attended the church service is over, and I'm still going to address people in the compound of the church.
Not within the compound of the church. Leave the place of worship for
All
worship.
right, at the gate.
Yes.
On the outside. Does it change anything?
Get out of so that whoever comes to your place of where you're going to do the rally or giving the speech would be somebody who's interested in what you want to say. Yes.
All right. Good point, and we hear you. Thank you very much for your call, James.
Thank you.
0719-012-600. What's the best way then to deal with the politicians? Let's go to Magarini in Malindi. Sami is there. Good morning, Sami.
Yes, good morning, Eric.
How are you?
Fine, thanks. How are you doing?
Very well, thanks.
Yeah. Well, I would like to contribute my views as follows. That I still remember the time of Bishop Henry Okulu when he did write a book about church and politics. And in that context, I always ask myself, who is church and who is a politician? I think both, they play both roles. They are Christians at the same time they are politicians. And in the first place, how do these politicians end up in church? It is because they are being invited for Harambes. So I don't blame the politicians, but I do blame the church, the leaders, because they like money from the politicians. If in any case they need money, why should they not invite people who are non-partisan in politics? I think they should not blame the politicians. They invite them, they end up there, and at least they have to sell their policy, their manifesto. Once you invite me to a place, I must sell my manifesto. So I don't blame the politicians, but I do blame the church leaders. They are all inviting all these problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sami. Victoria in Eldoret.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
How do you do?
How do you
do?
Well,
how do you do?
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity so that I may contribute also. So the issue of security in our country is a very sensitive matter. And it's a collective responsibility among the leaders who are elected and we the citizens.
Yeah.
And when the government issued a directive that all the political gatherings or meetings to be conducted should follow a certain procedure, it will appear that it's not about a given political affiliation or something. It should be something which cuts across. Huwa tunaambiwa sheria ni msumeno unakata nyuma na mbele.
Yes.
Kwa hivyo it should appear that there is no any group which is being targeted.
Do you feel as if there's a group that's being targeted by this directive?
Of course, yes.
Which group is this?
The Tanga affiliation group is one that is being targeted.
Why?
And
Why do you feel so?
Yes, I feel so because let me take you back during the Kibaki succession politics. That is around 2010 and 2011. There were so many political gatherings. There were so many, but we never saw President Kibaki interfering, saying that, oh, you see that when meetings that are being to be done are going to follow this procedure. No, he gave out a political field to be ground for all politicians that were aspiring. But now, because it seems that President Uhuru Kenyatta has some interest in maybe after 2022 elections, there's something that he needs after that. We have been hearing that BBI is going to create whole positions, that BBI is about leaders and you cannot ignore that one. We are being fed every day by the newspapers, the daily newspapers saying that, BBI is not about the Kenyans. It is about the leaders to share positions. And when a given political group, let's say the Tanga are saying, oh no, we need to follow the right rule, we need to follow the constitution clearly.
But let me ask you, Victoria, now that you say that you feel these directives are directed towards one particular group, are you saying that you expect the other political groupings would go and hold meetings without seeking the consent of the local police? Or will not adhere to these measures that have been put in place?
Of course, there is going to be a conflict, whereby a group that is maybe loyal to the government and is one that the government is favoring, they will be holding meetings and rallies. And all of you will be seeing them. But when the other group, which is seen that the government is against, will hold a meeting, you will see people being tear gassed. You will see people dying. The way you saw those 2 souls that died in Muranga the other day. And people now will be asking themselves, is the government sincere?
Okay.
Thank you so much for allowing me to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. Let's go to Kisumu. Japis, good morning.
Good morning, Spice FM.
How are you?
Good morning.
I'm fine. Yeah, I would like to contribute to the debate or discussion here. Generally, to be honest, it is very difficult to stop crowds from maybe reaching politicians in any event. For example, even here in Kisumu, let's say President Uhuru comes or maybe former Prime Minister Odinga comes in. Whether he has a rally or not, people will actually come close to him maybe to hear what he's saying at a stopover. And it is very difficult to maybe say that it's not a political rally because in the presence of any politician, there must be a word that he will say. And I want to agree with what Eric was saying that in real sense we never had any political rally, but rather stopovers, where someone stops and greets and say hi to people. So in real sense, we really need to be very honest with these leaders. Those who like me and those who dislike me, they should not plan anything against me.
So should we ban all meetings?
Generally, it is very evident that meetings, whether if we ban them or not, people will still attend. Yeah, so my point of view is that the leaders themselves need to be very honest with themselves. Okay. Whether you have a rally or not, you should plan that I am going to say this, and in any other case something comes out that maybe life is lost, I will come out very clear and say, particularly, this and this is what I intended to do.
Okay.
Yes, even in churches, these churches need money. They need money to aid in their structural build-up. They will not block politicians from coming. Okay. And someone gives you money, will you stop him from talking? It is very difficult. So my point of view, the politicians need to be very honest with themselves. Those who like me and those... hello?
Yeah, so all along, you think they've given you the impression that they can be honest and be responsible enough to make statements or say things that are going to be in line with these directives. You think they can do that?
Yeah, if the institutions that governs that are strengthened, for example, the institution that governs maybe the National Cohesion and the Injustice Committee is strengthened, so that leaders are held accountable for their speech, I think we can achieve it.
Okay. Thank you, Japes.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
Have a good day too.
All right. Is it possible to have honesty among our leaders? Is it also possible to actually now, even just the same way he said, even if you said you ban all the meetings and say you are a political leader, you decided to go and visit a friend of yours who lives in Ilbisil in Kajiado. And people spontaneously just found out that you were passing by in Kitengela and they thronged in the roads and they even blocked the road and said, Wana, just say hello to us as well as you're passing. You know, You don't even come out of your car. Just, stand inside your car and you're just talking to them and saying, habari yenu.
And of course,
mimi naenda kusalimia rafiki yangu anaitwa Muga.
And you know how they say bread
Anaishi
doesn't go
Basin.
without butter.
Sasa
So now
unajua
they'll say
nikipita
that.
hapa, mimi najua nyinyi si wakora. Pande ile ingine ndio kuna watapeli.
Na
wachawi. So is that a rally?
And of course, you'll already accidentally be in this vehicle that has a sunroof.
Yeah,
accidentally.
No, that's your everyday car, man.
You see,
what is accidental?
What
is accidental is that 200 people have, just learned that you're passing by.
It is true. All that can be true. I'm saying it is true because it can all be true. It can also be true, and this one is actually true, that not all politicians subscribe to what I have been saying. No, there are many politicians who are genuine, down-to-earth, God-fearing people, just an ordinary, honest person who is also a politician. Okay? Now, yes, I understand that those who will say they're a bit of a rarity, but they do exist. Okay?
Unicorn.
No. Unicorn doesn't exist.
Hey.
It doesn't exist. Whether it even existed is completely in doubt. Okay? Dodo, we know existed.
Yes.
But doesn't exist now. All right? And the way we are treating our lions and elephants, they will also soon be extinct at this rate. But that is not really the object of my discussion. What I'm trying to say is this. As is with the law, it becomes operational when people abrogate it, when people go against it. All countries on this planet do not encourage the killing of other human beings. And yet, literally all of them have armies. Armies are not known for their swimming prowess, neither are they known for having lovely singing groups. No.
They're not civil works
No,
organizations.
their functions
They
are
build
clearly
bridges.
known. Now, why? It's a preventative action that is taken. There are occasions when it is absolutely necessary to take a preventative position. And one that covers everybody. In between the people who will feel inconvenience, well, so be it. But one, you'll have prevented, you'll have halted, you'll have reduced at a minimum the spread of a certain disease that is killing people, and you'll have certainly curtailed the possibilities of any violence occurring. Now, one has to sit and balance the two and determine which do you think is the greater evil, if indeed we're discussing evils here, or which is the greater good. That is something that people have to decide for themselves.
Yeah. 5 minutes to the top of the hour. Let's remind you about the event that's taking place tomorrow. It's a live simulcast. And Nduh, you can just remind us how to get the tickets, the numbers to call to get the tickets, what you get when you buy this ticket, and how you then get access this live simulcast tomorrow.
Sure, so it's a special offer. Take advantage of it. 19,900 shillings guarantees that a premium package is available to you. You have a virtual link to the Live to Lead platform, and this is the 9th of October, which is tomorrow. So you have immediate access to 21 lessons from the 2019 speakers. You also have 72 hours on-demand replay access, which is now after the simulcast for tomorrow. You have access to local leaders and that panel conversation. You also get a certificate of attendance, as well as an autographed book by John Maxwell, The Leader's Greatest Return, as well as resource material, private networking community. Plus, you get access to the John Maxwell Leadership Game Session Workshop, which is for corporate teams. You can get your tickets by calling 0719 012 520. That's 0719 012 520 or 0799 748 069. 0799 748 069. Purchase your tickets and you have access to all of these. That's tomorrow. October 9th is when this is happening.
All right. So, the most powerful leadership quote that you can think of. Let me just quote this one from the book itself. All right. And this is by the CEO of Delta Airlines, Ed Bastian, who says, leadership is about change and pushing yourself to greater heights in personal and corporate growth. I think there's nothing more important for a leader than to aspire to greatness.
You do understand, Eric, that you cannot compete.
We're not competing.
No, I'm just telling you.
This
that
one is
you-
not going to win.
No, I'm just telling you, since you've decided to quote a quote on leadership.
All right. Quote the quote is your forte. Go.
Right.
I withdraw mine. Or
No,
withdraw
no,
an
don't
apology.
withdraw it. I have
It remains in the book.
It remains in the book, and anyone can read it.
Yep.
Gentleman, the name of Ambwaya. Outstanding leaders go out of their way to boost the self-esteem of their personnel. If people believe in themselves, it is amazing what they can accomplish. The quote is Sam Walton. Okay? Okay. Then there's Calvo 001. Leaders instill in their people a hope of success and a belief in themselves. Positive leaders empower people to accomplish their goals. Okay? Then Amboya yet again says, perfection is not attainable, but if you chase perfection, you can catch excellence. The quote is by Vince Lombardi. The Vince Lombardi quote catches my attention.
That one?
Yes, you
Why?
chase perfection. And for a very simple reason. You see, you don't elect people who are not human beings, and human beings will have their failings. So that someone fails isn't the yardstick by which you want to judge them. What you want to judge them is by what they focus on and what they achieve as they try to make themselves as leaders better people, because that sets the example of what they can do for others. Because leadership where people simply just talk about what should be done, but you don't see that exemplified in their lives, it can never be leadership. That one, I think, is clearly understood by those who have actually sent in their quotes. They understand that clearly.
All right.
Yes.
So Amboya wins the book.
Yes, he does.
Congratulations, Amboya, and very well done. And we hope that you are able to call those numbers and book yourself the ticket for tomorrow. So as we come to the end of the show, CT, today's proverb. Start with yesterday's proverb.
Well, yes. If the moon loves you, why worry about the stars? The quotes that we've read today on leadership have all talked about self-esteem, lifting, encouraging people to do better than they can. And that's the truth of the matter. If indeed you are clear about the things you actually are pursuing, naysayers will not be your issue. Sideshows will not be your issue. You will actually be fairly focused. And this leads to something that we often don't have. It's called contentment.
All right.
Okay. No one fights a lion without the lion's claws getting into his body. This particular saying is full of imagery. Lion imagery, claws in your body, even greater imagery. What you understand is immense pain that is bound to follow. Choose your fights wisely.
Very well said. Very well said. Choose your fights wisely. Wisely.
That too.
That too, Eric.
See you tomorrow. It's a Friday. It's good. Tomorrow is going to be the 9th. That'll be the day that after the show we'll be joining the John Maxwell talk. Okay. Now until 3 o'clock, uninterrupted music. And then Monique comes 3 to 7. And then the adults in the room 7 to 10. And then after that, music. And then tomorrow at 6, we'll be back. For now, good morning and goodbye.